dark green is dry. Your other bird got away.
Hey guys, we don't need to have multiple conversations going on. Listen to what he's saying, because this is very important.
But there's a keyhole right there as far as that right motion of the middle motion of
I think some of y'all missed the point that bird out there is the bird that's not laying on the mountain, but it is switch. Okay, now I'm making sure someone
That is
that's a very important part.
No, I'm just showing where those two bushes are is a little bit.
There's a little slot in those dark bushes. Right where he's standing in the slot. Yeah, he's standing where the bird is. The bird hits these, yes. The bird is in the slot. Yeah, correct. Okay. Come back over here.
We'll go ahead. You can bring them back and put them back on it.
Yes, you can bring them back.
Let's talk about it.
Let's just talk about it. Leo's got a question. I'm right here, man. I'm gonna have you walk out. You gotta pick up your. Now, I'm still hung up on the phone. We have that guy from Guthrie. We've named a couple, but you know, a blind planter on the landline on the left-hand line. Come walking up here for me. Walk towards that awning.
Tell her we're out in the field for them.
Come on up.
And
hey,
fire
I want you to touch that front right post on that pavilion. Now the other way. The other right. Now come towards me. Front right. There. Okay. That was it. Now, yep. All right. You missed the keyhole. What about the mat? It all comes off the mat.
We're gonna take two strokes. Okay, we're gonna go put it up.
That way we'll make it, because what you said, like, I thought it was in the back when he was, but we'll fix that.
Trying to figure this out. Get it going.
Any more questions? So, we just talked about, okay, all right, here's what we got on the mat. You put the dog on the mat, you put the mark. If the dog comes on the mat, put the dog back on the mat one time. Walk over and put him back on the mat. You're going to have to see him from over here. If the dog, you have once, just like with this mat, one part of your body's got to be touched. And so that make it easy. So one part of the dog needs to be touched. Tail count. All right. So if he comes off, you come put him back on the first time. We didn't. I just thought of something.
It's fast. We did really good.
Alright, here's your clarification on the map. Put the dog on the map, you go shoot the mark. If he comes off the map, you shoot one shoot. When you're walking back over, he comes off the map, you shoot. You have to shoot. That's the end, the first end if he's off the map. Alright? He comes all the way here, like he's not going to go, he comes on the side. You see the dog, he comes in here. Put him back on. If he gets all the way back to your side, you're getting 100 in. Now, because the stipulation allow for more than 2 people. The sins, if your dog's on the mat and you're sending, and the dog's not going, those are castrated. We're not, because it's not, you're not sending for your side, it's not an actual sin. That answers your question. Yes, exactly. Now, and then on our side, if like, let's say Fido's on the mat, and I go back, over, Fido, or 140. Yeah, my question there, one, hold on, let's go. Those are sins, not against me. If you're sinning from your side, I'm gonna do that.
So, just for clarification, put the dog back on the ground.
Kevin,
That one time,
Kevin,
was that after the time to go out?
got something out of the side by side.
After the marks come out,
Yes, we can hear J. Paul.
after the marks come out, he has to be sent from the and you have to start the test. But if you say here, yeah, he can come on. Once you get the mark, but if you say here, this step right here, he goes that's the test. If he makes it all the way through, it's a 100 point. Yeah, yeah, well.
You're not done, no. You're 100%.
Chuck a call.
I never asked a question.
Oh, yeah, I know. I almost got you.
Okay. When does your breathing begin? You go over here, dog is there. Let it go. Dog is there. I know. Put it back down. Put it back up.
You have to start the test with your own mouth, right? And then once the marks is out, if it comes off, that's when you're 1 3. Before that, you just got to get him on the mat and start the test. You got to start over there, you got to start over there.
What you do, you give the mark over here.
Well, that's your 1 3.
After you shoot, yeah, 1 3.
That's your breathing. Before that, you don't. You just have to start with him on the mat. And slide off the mat.
Yeah, I'm gonna run to the restroom while this is all going on. I'll be back.
Okay. I thought that was, because there was a similar question. All right, so let's watch the test dog and then we'll ask any more questions. Huh? Okay. All right. So we get 1 3.
Hold on, listen to the question. Hey, listen up.
1 3. Somebody can walk in over here. 1 3. Come on. If you come over here and sit from your side, I say it's sit from there. If you're coming over here cheating the test and trying to line your dog up on the line and do all that, then we're gonna take care of that.
Just trying to clarify. You can't go up and fix it.
No. Okay, you can't come over here unless they come off the mat.
And that's that. I'm with Clark. I don't know how hard I want to clarify, but you have to reset the dog.
You cannot point the blind out though. You come and you set them on the mat. If I see you point the blind out, we got that's basically if you come up here and try to point the blind out, you're sending from your side, you're getting on. So,
Put the dog here. You walk over before you get there. He comes off the mat. You can walk over for free.
well, you have to start the test on the mat. Before the test starts, before you can cue him with the
I can walk up and read like turn it back out. Then say sit. I can't sit because that's hard. Let's say after the marks go off, you move your tongue. I can walk up and say sit and then walk on. Not point the line.
How did you still on the mat? All right.
The sin is from not on the mat. Is that a disqualification or is there points?
If he sends the dog, but he can come put it back on there once. If he creeps out, you can put him on the mat for free. in this area.
Take the creep.
To take the creep, it's just, you send them off. No. Alright, let's watch the test dog and then y'all can soak and we'll ask 100 more questions.
You're going to see they can walk out after the bird.
Hey, bird one, walk out to where your bird's going.
Kill him.
Hey, yeah, it's hunt savvy, okay? Camo from the waist up. No white hat.
Earth colored hat. Is good. Black hat. Black hat.
You okay with the black hat? There's no white on your hat at all. But a black hat inside. The inside's fine because you're using it at that point, but I don't want it to use like you're hunting. Alright. Alright, y'all see where he's standing? Bird one, we'll call a no bird when it is appropriate. We'll call a no bird.
Hey, one more thing. If your dog is not fast enough, if you move off, it's another 50 points, okay? It's down 50 points.
Alright, just go back, bird one, go back. Blind planters, make sure there's a bird at your station, and then go back. Y'all go sit down, go sit down. Yes, dog, any questions?
You're not picking up any marks either.
Yeah, the marks will be picked up, or the short one will be. Alright, here we go. Sun's up. Horse up. All fine. How do you come to hunt that? Hey, y'all give her some room too.
Sit.
Hey, serious question, serious. Come on, we gotta go.
Said you could bring them up and repoke people's time.
Same way on the point. Same way on the point. It's the tip of the point.
Can the boy go back and
He's fixing to walk out and pick it up, but I understand where it's supposed to be. That one bounced well.
Wish I had a big lens. That dog looks pretty cool swimming in the water, but it's out of my lens reach. Go to a different camera and I'll spin it around. What camera is that?
Alright guys, hey, there was a question here.
Okay, that's the best I could do on the water.
What we're considering 4 feet dry is going to be past that decoy. You can't get out at this decoy right here and count, and that count as a. You have to be past the decoy in the field for it to count that you're dry. Does that make sense? What we don't want you to do is get in the water. We don't want you to get out in the curve here and think that that's 4 feet dry. Alright, you have to be past that decoy when you get dry in order to. Yes. That's not what we were talking about on the boat. The one freebie is after the birds are on the ground. Hey guys, listen. Once you load your gun, if you have to come back and put your dog on the mat, a safe gun is still a loaded gun is still safe if it's pointed in a safe direction. Does that make sense? You don't have to unload. We're not. Yeah. Here the gun is. We keep it pointed in the safe direction. Go out that way. Bird 1, go out and pick that bird up, please. Y'all only take one dog first.
What? We're talking about the porta potty. Use the left side. Don't use the right side.
Michelle was saying that. I left the mic on. Thanks, dude.
That's a little tight there, big daddy. By a little tight, I mean not there. So,
here's what we're going to do. Everybody listen to me real quick. We've got 9 amateurs to start. After 5 amateurs, we're going to see what our average is. If we have to just run amateurs, we'll just run amateurs. If we don't think we're going to finish, we're going to do our best to finish everybody, but we will definitely finish the 18 amateurs. Does that make sense, everybody? I don't want to put ourselves in a position where we have 2 or 3 pros run amateurs. Hey, a loaded gun is still safe if it's pointed in a safe direction. That's all. Any more questions? All right, line them up, guys. Let's go.
Line them up.
Ask the
Hey Shannon, what did you now?
I want you to throw those birds. But I want everybody out.
You don't need the dog.
I don't.
Okay. At first you did.
I don't think you should have to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have you rolled that open yet?
What draws us to the SRS is the not knowing what you're going to get. You come to an SRS event and you walk up to the line to see what you're going to run.
The most challenging and funnest dog game I've ever competed in. I'm totally into the SRS.
I think it's awesome. I think it's addicting.
It's a heck of a lot of fun. I would recommend anybody who loves dog games to go to a qualifying event, try to get in it and go watch it. But man, making it to the crown is just awesome to see these animals here.
Reality, in my opinion, is, and I think we're all under the same opinion, these are the best all-around dogs in the country.
Welcome to the 2023 Super Retriever Series Crown Championship presented by Eukanuba. So folks, if you've been watching from home, you know that we have completed our first two series. Had a record number of dogs qualify this year, 118. 94 actually entered, but after that second series, we start to cut the field down. This afternoon, we're starting Series 3. We'll have our top 18 amateur teams and our top 18 open teams. Joining me here at the desk is my buddy Pat Burns, who's been with us the last couple of days, expert commentary, and we're also fortunate to have Luke Gore here with us as well. Hate it for you, Luke.
That's all right. It's part of it.
Yeah, that's the earliest departure you've seen in a long time from any SRS event. I'm betting.
First time not making the first cut at the Crown. So.
Wow. Well, sorry.
That's all right. It's part of it.
But glad to have you with us here today. Right. So, if you're familiar with the SRS and the Crown Championship, you know that the rules stipulate that the first two series, one series has to be a hunt test, the other series has to be a field trial. And we did them in that order this year. Series 1 was a hunt test over at WK Palmetto Plantation, actually WK Palmetto Event Center.
Good.
And
We're good.
Came back for a second series. The second series was, of course, the field trial series. And now that that's over with, had some really, really good dog work. We're starting to whittle the field down. Here today in this third series, we've got a hunt savvy, and let me tell you something. This test is absolutely full of meat. It's the kind of thing that I'd like to run. I'm sure
it's got some savvy to it, that's for sure.
Very, very savvy. But it's a realistic, kind of deal. I mean, Pat and I have been talking for the last couple of days about what we're looking for here. And the Super Retriever Series is just that. It's about Super Retrievers. It's about finding that dog that is unbelievably versatile dog that can do it all. Dog can be a hunt test dog, a hunting dog, a field trial dog, and that's exactly why we have the multiple series that are part of this event, including today's Hunt Savvy. Going to get some comments from Pat here, but first going to tell you a little bit about what you're going to see here today. In this test, it is a hunting scenario with the dog sitting remote. If you were listening the last couple of days, you know, you heard us talk a lot about dogs that are hunting dogs, about protecting their hearing. After having a couple of great hunting dogs I just shot way too close to, way too much to, started later on hunting with the dog, sitting at a remote sit a lot of the time. It's something that I do regularly in my hunting scenario, and so that's what you've got here. The handler comes up to run the dog. He sits the dog out to his left, remotely away from that muzzle blast, loads 3 shells, and a couple of marks come out. These are water marks, both of them coming from left to right. One of them landing dry, the other making a splash. After it splashes, he shoots it on the water to sluice it, and they actually pull that bird back out of the picture. From that point on, the dog goes on to run a land blind to the left, a water blind to the right, and then picks up the short land.
No, they don't pick up any marks.
No marks
They
pick
have
up.
talked about doing that, but they decided not.
You just have the gunners in the field pick them up, and then they're just going to run their 2 poison bird blinds.
Exactly. Couple of points they've got to hit, some pretty significant 50-point penalties. Right there, you're looking at one of the points. Land blind's going to be directly, the water blind's going to be directly behind that, I believe. There's
a great look at it.
Yep. You got
Really
to down
good
the shore,
look.
and you got to hit both points. And by hit both points, I mean 4 feet dry.
Well, 4 feet in the green.
In the green, correct.
Well, they've got him live there. Okay, is that the drone view?
No, that's the jib.
Okay.
Now that's wonderful Jib Joe doing his stuff.
Awesome.
That's right.
Well, there's your,
Great shot there.
the mat closest to us is where the dog sits in this remote position, and the other one is where the handler starts from.
So Pat, what do you think about this test?
Whew. Well, it's got all the factors. Now, one super key factor is that the land blind. You know, those land blinds near the edge of the water, weird things happen. Some dogs want to get in the water. Some dogs don't want to get anywhere near the water. So they're tricky. You got to go under the arc of the short bird.
Yeah,
I'm not sure they're. I watched it. Obviously, the length of that throw may make it have a factor.
Am I not up right now?
You may wind that short bird because the wind is a little bit right to left, blowing into the shoreline.
Here, I think.
And take a look here now. You see, okay, the land blind you can see to the left, and it's actually to the right of the cluster of snow goose decoys, and there's a
Open shed.
yeah, but up front, see the snow goose decoys. To the right of the snow goose decoys is one speckle belly decoy, and that the perfect line's between the speckle belly and the far right hand snow goose. And actually, in that spot is a patch of taller, thicker cover too. So they want you to go between those decoys, and they want you to ideally, if you look at that shed in the background, there's 2 snow goose decoys kind of marking the edges, and they want you to go between those as well. You receive at this mat, and you run this water blind.
Question right quick, Pat.
Yes, sir.
Does the dog actually go underneath into the shed to pick up that bird?
They go through it, and then
It's like
the
if we're
blind's
going
deep
right
up.
underneath this tent. The line goes through it, and it looks like it's 10 yards deep of it.
Yeah.
How many times in your career, Luke, have you trained for a scenario like that?
Not very often.
I don't know that I ever have.
Yeah.
Geez,
Pat?
I don't think the dogs are going to recognize it shit. It's like going through 2 posts at a distance.
Right.
Sure.
I mean, but it's still
It looks pretty
difficult.
clean under there. It doesn't look like it's been,
Yeah.
it doesn't look like it's mudded down or there's anything pushing them around.
There's your look right there.
So another thing you see that's difficult on a land blind, when Pat talked about some dogs want to push towards the water and some dogs want to flare off of it, is the handlers don't have the ability to line the dog up and give them that cue. They have to send them remote. And so their instinct is either going to be head towards the mark, which is towards kind of the edge of that water, or they're going to flare off of it when they give the casting, try to go behind the gun.
That front goose decoy is the marker that when the dog gets past it, you can move over to the
Correct.
mat where the dog sat and finish your blind.
Yep. So the dog has to pass that first white snow goose decoy before the handler can proceed to the dog mat to run and actually be able to challenge the line of the blind from the right perspective. If the handler moves towards that mat before the dog passes that decoy, it's an additional 50-point penalty.
to you.
The yellow
And I
cable
looked
right
at this from the air, off of drone perspective, and that first point those are the hardest points. And the reason I say that is because if you look at it from any other angle, it doesn't look like a point.
Cable and
Right.
It's just a little bump in the shoreline. So when you hit that and you treat it as a point, it doesn't take much deviation from the dog to not get back in the water. He only has to go 2 or 3 degrees left to dodge the re-entry after the first point. So versus a finger, a spit, a different deal. The second point's a little more classic point.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the first point, I'm not going to say that it's obscure, but it's definitely not as pronounced as that second point is. But it's also closer.
Right, and sometimes, a lot of times a dog, it depends on your dog, but if you have a really watery dog that sees the picture of swim to the end, a lot of times those first closer points are really hard to get on because the dogs, they're almost uncomfortable getting on land that early, and so sometimes that short little point right there can be, you can take it for granted. Somebody thinks it's going to be an easy on and off, but they're going to get to that point, and they may have to take a couple casts to get them to be comfortable to get up there, especially with a poison bird up there. At a young age, you see poison birds create a lot of suction, but sometimes at an older dogs, you're going to see them actually push.
Oh, absolutely.
And so
we don't call those points, we call them shoulders.
Shoulders, there you go.
So if I say a shoulder, that's what I'm talking about, that first point.
Gotcha. And Pat and I were talking about this yesterday. I'd like your take on it, Luke, but I felt like, as this sport and game has evolved, some of my dogs actually run poison bird blinds better than just a straight blind.
Right. You see a lot of dogs. I think when you're transitioning, like you've come to a field trial standpoint, when you get to a dog that's coming into the qualifying level and transitioning to those bigger blinds, sometimes having a shot in the field or a poison bird thrown actually gives them comfort to see the picture and go. And so it actually can kind of help create that. And sometimes just coming up and running a cold blind, they get a little nervous about, because a dog's instinct is to hit the mat and look for a gun.
For years in the HRC, in the season test, you shoot the blind before you run the dog.
Right.
And the impetus behind that was, these are dogs that are not finish level dogs, they're younger dogs. We want to help give them a little more confidence, let them know, hey, something's just been shot out there that you didn't see that you need to go and pick up.
So one thing before we get started is going to be an important note on this is all of your obstacles, the front slot between the snow goose decoy and the speckle belly decoy, and the shed slot, and both of your shoulder and then your point, the judges have declared that the handler only gets one shot at getting that. What that means is the handler can challenge that obstacle as much as they can, but once the dog has proceeded past that point, you can no longer bring your dog in to try to re-hit it. When you miss it, you've missed it. And so a lot of times you'll see if they have a log or a slot, the judges will allow you to try to keep coming back and getting through it, and it creates the handlers have to make the choice: is am I gonna risk that and take a bunch of opportunities to try to hit it, or do I'm just going to challenge through it? And so the judges have kind of taken that to where these are your key points. If you don't hit them, you just keep proceeding with your blind, and we're kind of going to continue to judge from there.
What do you think about that, Luke?
I like it. I think when it comes down to it, just like in most of the other games, but when it comes down to it, if you're giving the dog the multiple opportunities to try to hit it, one, I think you're taking away from the progression of the blind, but two, I think it's very important for the dog that does well to get rewarded for doing it the first time. You know what I'm saying?
Pat?
Well, I'll tell you, I would be afraid to pull him in on that second one.
Right.
Because you put him in the hunt mode, that poison bird is right there.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, if they gave you the opportunity,
you might.
I'm not sure I'd do it.
Take it. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Another thing to really pay attention to while I was watching test dog is where the running water line versus the swimming water line is.
Yep.
Okay, you could see on between the first entry and the first point, it was almost all lunging water. The dog was touching the bottom of the pond. Now at that distance, sometimes at greater distances, that may keep you from being able to actually get the dog stopped on a whistle. It's not going to be the case here. But dogs do different things. Some of them are actually going to touch dirt, and it's going to make them a little more nervous, and they're going to want to get out in the water more. Some are going to take advantage of it. So there was more swimming water between the first point and the second point.
Right.
But right when the dog got online and the test dog stopped, when they turned, they were sitting on the bottom of the pond. When they're there, they can get to that poison bird a lot quicker than swimming.
That's right.
Yeah.
You got to be you have to be
know
watching
where
that
that
commitment.
swimming water versus running water spot is. The other thing is, the test dog, when she cast off the point, I don't think the handler saw the dog until it got all the way to the back short.
So this first dog is Brian Broussard and Daisy. Daisy is a pretty young dog, and she's had a pretty successful career for her young age. She's an SRS amateur champion, and her dam is Breeze, who is Chuck McCall's ran her in the SRS. She's a crown qualifier in the past, and so she's got that SRS experience in her lineage. Brian's trained her since she was a puppy himself, and his goal is to be at this stage with her, and they've done a really good job.
Yeah, and Brian and Daisy had a really solid first series, 61 points. I think he had pretty quickly on one mark close to the area. And
could you get a better look?
Yeah, here we got a good look.
Oh, yeah,
coming up here to the line. Second series.
Oh, there we go.
A little bit more difficulty for him.
So the first station, you get a duck call as a signifier in the field to help the dog look out, instead of having silent throws because you're in a remote position. Now he's going to pull that bird in, and you're going to second shot for a sluice. And once that bird is reeled in, you're free to release your dog and handle for your land blind.
Brian taking his time here.
Oh. He might have left the line. He might have left the mat a little early there.
Yeah, they said you're not supposed to move to the mat till they pass that first decoy.
And Brian's a duck hunter, so I'm sure, just as J. Paul said, a lot of us hunt remote.
Coming right to left. Is he going to win the poison bird there? No, he got by it.
Got by it. And so you're going to see some of these dogs that have hunting experience are going to be a little bit more comfortable leaving the line on that first cast, and some dogs that may not.
Yeah, Daisy didn't have an issue with it at all.
Well, there's a good perspective there.
You'll notice that the judges put a couple of snow goose decoys too.
Looks like she's going to get through there.
Oh, not a problem at all.
I think she was more checking out the scent of the people walking to put the decoys out than the decoys. You know, because that foot scent of a human. Okay, there you go. Yeah.
It's a pretty good blind.
That's got a really nice blind.
That is a pretty darn good blind. I mean, checked all the boxes.
No, it was penalty if you leave the mat early.
50 points. So it was close. It was hard to tell from this angle, so that'll reflect on the score. So we'll see. But so now the handler and the dog get the opportunity to be lined up and sent from their side for the second retrieve. It's not a remote send for the second retrieve.
More of a classic.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, nerves definitely play a part there. You know, I'm sure Brian.
Especially being first dog.
Yeah.
You just want your dog off the mat and start running your blind.
Yeah, this is one thing that you're really going to have to review the instructions, because it'd be easy to get worked up and forget.
In a hunt, you notice Brian's wearing a camo jacket. In a hunt savvy scenario, the handlers have to wear camouflage from the waist up and a dark earth toned hat. And this is to create a true hunting environment of what the dog would see in a natural hunting environment. Not often are we, unless you're out in a snow goose field in a bunch of rags, are you wearing white or any other color when you're hunting.
Tell you, I don't think that's
good.
Yeah.
Line's right off the back end. Well, that's the perfect line. Let's see what the dog does when it's
that decoy might help get a little push into the water.
It gives you kind of a spot to pull. If nothing else, it helps the handler.
Right.
Kind of get them pointed straight. Okay.
So if we get a zoom in here, there's a decoy on this shoulder that they have to get on the point after to miss the penalty.
Oh,
so
I saw him walk out there.
So they don't want him to get on real late.
Right there. Looks like Daisy is up on the point. Very nice. Ooh.
She got back in.
I tell you, the dog's going to see that poison bird here.
He must have got the
He
cast.
must have got the cast. He seems okay. Well, here's a good view.
See that decoy on that front shoulder? That second decoy is the point. You have to get on to the right of that decoy. You have to get on after that decoy.
Well, I would think you'd want to. I don't think there's any advantage.
No. They just don't want you to get on.
Now
early
here's a
and get off
dangerous
early.
cast, guys.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Daisy, trying to be a good girl, stay wet. You got to get a little bit dry, honey.
Well, that's a scary thing. You're casting towards the point, but the dog's eyeballing the poison bird. Yeah, sometimes you want to do a check and make sure they're going to cast away from them before you put them up.
That's right.
So
she caught the green.
There you go.
Everything she needed.
Well, that was a
good safety whistle.
Stop.
You need it. Okay, I think he You're going to be walking out a right-hand cast. Did they give you any lateral movement restrictions?
They did no restrictions on lateral movement, just no forward movement. They don't want you to walk up by that white snow goose decoy.
Brian breathed a little sigh of relief there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so once you get that cast off that point, you get a little bit of a relief. It looks like she sees the picture.
Yeah, I would think that's, the wind's going to blow them back online here a little bit. You could. The only thing you got to make sure you don't do here is miss it on the right side.
That's right.
And miss it on the upwind side because you relaxed a little bit. You have them get deep and
have to box it in.
Yourself in trouble.
Right. Oh.
All right, I said a lot of stuff. My mic was turned off. That. Sorry about that, everybody.
So for you, Pat, while we got a dog swimming back, and we can talk a little bit of dogs on a blind like this. When you're asking a dog to get on land and get off land, do you use any kind of certain casts or cues to give what per se I would call permission to get on, permission to get
Oftentimes you give. We'll give kind of a soft verbal back, something that almost says it's almost if you would say the word okay, it's okay, in that kind of tone.
Okay.
When I sense a dog is anxious about getting on land, if they're approaching it, a lot of times you can see them push off and want to stay in the water, like this dog is on the return.
Right.
So if you're trying to give them permission to get on land, oftentimes your whistle's going to be a little softer. Loud enough to hear, but not
intimidating.
Not an intimidating whistle.
Correct.
I want to say that intimidating whistle when they get there on the point and they're looking at that poison bird. And then when I blow that
fun stuff,
really hard whistle,
yeah,
I want the dog to feel the chill of that whistle.
Right.
And then so softer whistle, probably some degree of a literal cast, might be an angle back if a dog wants to swim around, and I'll use a little soft back
to get them on.
But when their feet get up on turf, the next whistle,
it's a hard, sharp whistle.
Bust it.
Yeah,
and
right.
I want them to stop in their tracks and
on a dime
and say, "Uh-oh,
right,
this is serious." And I'm really and sometimes you got to decide depending on the dog. You may blow on the point, cast, and immediately blow again. A lot of handlers will blow that second whistle, cast, beat, and then give a big cast off. Sometimes that second whistle is the whistle that really creates that
focus.
I
need to watch my handler and see what we're coming.
He's meaning business here.
When you're getting off, when you're casting off, is that going to be a silent cast for you, or is that going to be a verbal cast for you?
Probably my first cast is going to be silent. I'm not going to give a literal cast there. I'm going to walk out a bigger cast, so my arm's going to be a little lower. Maybe, and a lot of people are going to give it over there.
Right.
If the dog shows a tendency to hunt, or is a little bit, when I blow that second whistle, oftentimes that second cast is a verbal over, not a verbal back. We always used to say,
you'll say over
takes you to the next series, back takes you back to the hotel.
Back to the truck.
You'll use the word over.
A lot, but sometimes I just want to switch it up.
Right.
And when I say over, it's going to be over.
Right. That's right. So on our camp, we're silent to get on, silent to get off. For us, it's permission. If the dog doesn't want to get on land, I'm going to give maybe a slow motion and kind of give an easy cast, soft whistle, to silent to get on, and then put them on, same with that sharp whistle, and then we like to sweat them a little bit and give that silent cast.
So what do you mean by sweating them?
Sweating them meaning by letting them sit there, maybe blow that second whistle, but sweating about letting them sit there and kind of catch their bearings and think for a second before, because I don't want the dog to get up there and be thinking land and me give a quick motion, and the first thing they do is react and then turn and go into hunt mode. And so we want to do that.
Yeah, a lot of times I'll actually, even in competition like this, you're going to get a 2-point penalty for another whistle, but a lot of times when I get the dog, they stop and they sit where I want them to sit. But instead of giving another cast, I'll come back and give another sit whistle.
Yes.
Take that 2 points. But I'm making them, hey, we're settling it. Now, work with me.
This is Henry and John Malasavis. Henry is a field champion and an SRS champion. He's 8 years old. He got his SRS champion title this year, and he got his field champion title this year.
Oh, wow. That's a great year.
Yeah, he's done well. Henry comes from our camp. He finished his field champion this summer up north. We were in North Dakota, and he got his second. And then John finished his SRS amateur in Texas and got a win to get his title this year. And then I think it was back-to-back events. I believe he got a win and a 5th or a win and a 6th right back-to-back. So
cool.
Henry's basics were done by Kenny Trott and Marcy Wright at Horsetooth, and so he's got that field trial background. And they, Kenny and Marcy put 9 of his open points on him. I just got that last 2nd place this summer to finish the title.
Kenny and Marcy are good friends of mine.
They're great people.
So he didn't have any trouble at all with remote sit, remote send, and he is really attacking this blind in a good position.
He's got a really nice tight sit, keeping him on line.
I think sometimes the remote cast makes the dogs a little more cautious, and because nobody on this landline so far has made an attempt to go for the poison bird.
Right. And sometimes when you get a dog nervous, you're going to get a lot of overcasting.
Yes. So you got to decide when you're going to go to verbal cast versus silence.
Right. But come on, Henry, hit that slot.
Now, do you cross the line of the blind and stop and come up with a right-hand cast?
That would be my goal.
Yeah.
I try to, your goal is always to try to cross that line of the blind, and I would probably go verbal here.
Yeah.
There's a good verbal cast.
Did he get it?
There's a good whistle.
He's going to try probably is he going to go a verbal again, or is that going to be a silent?
I would say he's going to be a silent there.
Yeah. Well, he got between.
Yep. Good.
Made it through the goalpost. She's got probably 1 whistle. Bingo, that's it.
He's not there
yet.
yet.
Different. The depth perception, here's one thing and I don't think it's maybe the case here, but there's times where they do these landlines that are near the water that you can actually smell the water blind.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Oh my goodness, because that dog made a break to the right, and I wondered, and I looked up, it's quite a ways away.
But I'll tell you what, he took that last cast really well.
You talk about hunting remote and the reason for it being a dog losing hearing. John actually had a young dog named Whiskey who was one of the younger dogs to qualify for the Crown. He qualified for the Crown right at 21 months old. We ran him just to see what he would do, and he got a 2nd place. And just at 3 years old, from hunting a lot, and he's kind of one of them dogs that got ear infections a little bit. He lost most of his hearing to where at a distance he couldn't run this game anymore. And he was a super talented dog, and that's kind of one of them deals that. John does a great job of hunting him in a remote position, but some dogs just have a little bit more sensitive ears than others.
Sure, and I'll tell you, I've really adopted that stance.
Yeah.
Looking at these guys, you saw the first handler had on kind of a yellowish camo pattern. This is one of the Avery patterns here that's a little bit yellow. I think that you're going to see most of these guys come to the line wearing that.
Avery doesn't make that KW1 anymore, and that was the one, the camo pattern everybody
killer
loved.
weed one.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what,
that was pretty much the perfect line.
Pretty good line here.
Let's see there's that silent, serious cast there that says get in the water, and he got that.
Luke, I just got to take a look at a new camo. My buddy Jeff Graham over at Cryptic. They have 2 new patterns they call flyaways, and one of them, it's the first camo pattern I've seen with the yellow that would also blends in so well and be really good.
Get them in touch with David Carrington and get us a handler's jacket in that color.
I could probably work out something. I got to know Jeff Graham and the guys at Cryptic pretty well.
Good cast.
There's a great look at this. See all the running water there?
Yep. Needs to get in.
Not very far off line. I mean,
nope.
But this dog, he's
got a good blind pace.
Exactly what
he's got a very good blind pace.
He acts like he's not looking for trouble.
Yeah, speed kills.
Now, I'll tell you, the timing of this approach is really always interesting. If you wait too long,
and you might miss it.
You might miss it, and if you wait too long, you've got to give such a big cast right at the poison bird.
So he gave a verbal there to turn him towards that point, but he didn't want him to commit towards that poison bird. He wanted just to get him a little closer, and now he's going to stop him, and the next one will be a silent, unless he commits.
I kind of expected that one to be a silent.
He might get it. He might get it without it. Attaboy Henry.
There we go.
I'll stop him.
Is he going to let him roll?
No, I'd let him roll.
Well, I'll tell you what.
That's a good choice.
Yeah.
Whew. I'll say. But there's, we were reading that dog's attitude and his approach. And I'm not surprised, to be honest with you, that he did that.
Yeah, when you're moving at a slow pace, you got a little bit more time to think and a little bit more of a decision.
I'm not surprised the dog made that decision.
Right.
I think I still would have pulled the whistle.
Yeah.
But look at this. It's perfect.
Man, this is really going well.
Big technical blinds are usually a pretty strong suit for Henry and John. John's a very methodical handler. He's always got good timing on his whistles. He thinks about his casts, and them two are a very good team.
Well, that was a good example of it right there.
Yeah, and I think that was a pretty appropriate place for that verbal as well.
And I tell you, just you think you're home free here, but you still you don't want to let your guard down.
Right.
Because you'd hate to waste all that good work.
Talk about one to finish left, and he finished left right there, just like Pat
bumped
said.
up downwind
and you talk, when it comes to the remote, and John himself is a hunter, and so John is very comfortable in that remote position. Sometimes the remote position worries the handler more than it worries the dog. But John hunts his dogs remote. He's very used to being in that remote position, so to him it's completely normal, and it's something he's comfortable with.
Well, I think he's got a good look there at why this dog is so versatile too. I mean, this dog's a total package. Dog was very controlled and deliberate. Not a pig by any means. Dog has a ton of style, but wasn't out of control.
That's right. He thinks he's going to come back close to that poison bird. So
you got to make sure that there's no bait and switch going
right
on
there.
This is always a nervous moment right here for me.
I had that whistle in my mouth, and I probably when
be tweeting when he got up on.
Well, just to make him, hey, I'm still here. Don't do anything stupid here. See?
Oh.
I'll tell you what.
And he's got to pass another one here in a second.
Yeah.
We all three cringed at the same time.
I'll tell you what, some of those dogs can make that switch in a hurry.
And sometimes I think if you have a lot of dogs that take the land route back and they leave that dog scent up on that point after a while, it can create that suction can get stronger on that point more and more as those dogs come across.
Yeah,
when you see
you're absolutely right there.
And the ATBs don't leave as much drag back as a bird, so especially in a field trial when you got a lot of dogs coming back over the point with that duck, it makes that point harder and harder.
I agree with you. It's funny, Luke, that you mentioned that because Pat on day one actually asked about drag backs with these ATBs, and it's my opinion too. I don't feel like they leave anywhere near the sit.
Now we have John Lamar, and which one is this? Is this Pine? This is Pine.
See here, I got a running order pulled up.
So the decision do you have the dog face you, or do you try to get him pointed in the direction you're going to catch?
Preferably, but I would like the dog facing in the direction, his spine facing in the direction of the test, because then you're more likely to get that better cast off. Because most of the dogs are going to leave with intent to get the mark, and so.
Which isn't a bad line to get blind.
No, that's right. And I think that's why the judges probably threw him a little tighter to give you the opportunity to get a good initial line.
All right, we have John Lamar coming up here with Pine, who actually came in with a 157. Of course, Brian and Daisy and John and Henry came in with a 160. Mark Carter with a 159. John Lamar with a 157 on Pine and a 157 on Katie. So John's going to run ahead of Mark Carter to allow him to not have to go back to back.
Right, that's right. And when you see John has two 157s, they don't give him the choice of which dog he wants to run. The tiebreaker rule is the lowest score in the previous series has the lead, and so you see Pine at a higher score in that last series than Katie. So that's why he's running Pine first with the same even score. Although some of us would probably like the ability to choose which dog we can run first.
I guarantee you. Yes, sir. That was always my deal.
He's keeping a nice tight line here.
We
smelled that poison bird.
There's the first dog that made a break for that short poison bird, but he gave up on it.
Pine's had a very successful.
He's still acting like he wants to pick up. I mean, he went with those verbals to tell him to get his butt out of there, and it looks like he finally threw the towel in on that.
Do you have the owner? Is Pine? I think Pine is owned by the Boykin family.
Let's take a look here.
He competes in the SRS University as well. Pine does with his owner, and then Steven actually had, I believe, placed in Team of the Year with him either last year or the year before with Pine. Had a really strong year.
Making me do some work here, Luke.
Coming up to that pavilion.
Just
they're going in there, but they're expecting to find
right when they get
the
there.
blind there. Yeah.
Pine is indeed owned by David Boykin.
Okay, yeah.
Actually, Brian Pine also
Brian
ran an
Boykin.
SRS with his owner, Brian Boykin.
Yep, yep. The Boykin family has dominated that SRS University. I don't know that anybody else has won except for them in the 4 years that they've had.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah. They're very talented. It's 2 young girls that train with them and have some really nice dogs, and they do it. They're great handlers, and they've competed in regular events on the amateur level and been successful as well.
Cool. And what do the Boykin family reside?
I believe they're from Georgia. I'm not,
Okay.
or South Carolina. I know they're.
Well, there's
Georgia,
a Boykin, South Carolina. That's
Right.
why I asked. Is there any?
They are. I'm not sure. I know Stephen. They work with Stephen, and Stephen's from in Sylvania, Georgia area. So I would assume that they're in Georgia, but I don't know that.
Statesboro.
Somebody said Statesboro.
Statesboro.
Yep.
Statesboro.
Well, that's more towards Savannah.
So, the Taylor Farm Kennels which is where John Lamar and Pine come from. They're one of the few double-sided crews here, and I'm noticing him putting them on the left here. Would you agree with that on a shoreline blind, or would you put them on?
Well,
the right?
it's all going to depend on if I have a dog that I think is going to want to get in the water early. If I've got a watery dog, I'm going to run this on the left. If I've got a dog that I'm worried about getting in the water, I may
Put 'em
run
on
it
the
off the
right,
right.
right.
But
So
you're
you're
fairly
gonna,
close to the edge of the water. So
we're not going to have a hard and fast rule here, but you're going to have to go dog by dog, which one,
Yeah, absolutely.
which way you're going to run, left or right. Do you still do two-sided with all?
Do I?
Yes.
Yes.
How about you, Luke?
I'm a single-sided guy. Both of my mentors have been single-sided,
Yeah.
and so that's just kind of what I've stuck with, and that's what I feel comfortable with. I pick Steven's brain every chance I get on the double-sidedness, and I've ran a few dogs that have been double-sided. I ran a dog named Finn. You remember Finn, 5-spot? He was with Lardy and Ray training him.
Was that one of Fred Campo's dogs?
Yes,
Yeah.
yep. And he was the two-sided dog, and I had him, and I tried to run him on the left side, and Ray finally told me, he said, put him on 2 sides around the water and see if that makes him more comfortable. And then he started winning. So some dogs like it.
Okay. Well, this tells you why he ran him off the left.
Yep.
This dog, he wants
Pushing
to
on
stay
the
out of the water. He's kind of anxious about that, and
Yeah.
sometimes the more whistles you blow, the more they get anxious about it. But
Do you think him winding that poison bird and having to get that hard cast off that poison bird is influencing him to not want to get up there by it?
yeah, and this blind, even a good blind forces you to blow a lot of whistles.
Right.
So every whistle you blow
So you got to
creates
get
a
him
little
after that
more
decoy. There you
tension.
go.
Okay. Well,
Now he's free to get off.
you would think. Yeah, he grabbed a little. That's a good whistle right there.
Great whistle.
He used a verbal there.
Ooh. Okay. Well, you got to make the decision. When do I tighten him back up?
Pine is another one of them dogs that has really nice blind pace. You can kind of see his intent. He's not moving so fast. You have to try to be ahead of him. You can see his decision making as he's doing it.
You know, John did something interesting. We couldn't see John on the camera, but I could see him up there at the line. And watching that, yes, he gave a verbal to get the dog off the point, but his body English, the cast that he gave on the line was almost an over.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, he was set back, but he gave an overcast. I think that was, he was trying to get some momentum with Pine.
Right.
But also
and at
get
the
that
same
change.
time, getting back off that bank. I'm not sure that wasn't pretty smart, savvy cast. The other thing I like about watching this dog in Pine is Pine also has been very, very deliberate. It's a case where I think Pine is
That's
really
a good
trying
decision
hard
right
to
there
do
by the dog.
He's in a
right
good spot here.
thing. I think that was
a
a great
little higher
example.
than some of the others were. This would be oftentimes a double whistle. Ooh, don't be late here, buddy.
Exactly, that's a double whistle I'm talking about right there. But have been a very appropriate.
There's 2
place.
things. I'd be further. If they don't give you lateral restrictions, I'm giving that cast from almost where I shot the gun from.
Right.
Because you can see around the corner better.
That's right. That's right.
It may give you just
a very good point.
just a little bit. If there's no lateral restrictions, I'm going to be to the right on this cast because you can see around the corner and catch them before they wrap behind those tall weeds. See, this dog's pretty left.
Yep.
This is where the test dog
and the
was.
handler can't see them because the camera's up higher, so John can't see Pine on the left quite yet.
I don't think he's going to see until he gets the bank. I bet you
Start
can't
seeing the
because he hadn't
ripples
blown it
now.
yet. If he could see him, he'd be blowing a whistle here.
Oh, you guarantee you would.
He's going to see him right when he gets out of the water. Boy, that's...
You're about to hear it.
Now he's going to get a wind save here.
Well, I'm curious to see, because oftentimes judges don't like the fact that if he couldn't see the dog from the point all the way to the blind, neither could the judges.
Right, right.
It's not what I would be, looking for there. I'm sure he maybe wishes he'd have blown one more whistle.
Yep.
I don't think I've ever lost a field trial by blowing one too many, but I've lost a lot of them by blowing one too few.
Yeah, that's right. One thing I like to pay attention to is I like to watch. You can tell a lot by somebody by how they emulate their teacher, and he comes from Stephen Durance's camp, and you see a lot of very similar style and how they handle, even in the sound, the way they give their verbals and the way their mannerisms when they send the dog and handle the dog. John has really soaked in Stephen's program, and he's really a very good handler and handles their dogs very well.
Yeah, I always get a kick out of that. There's a couple things: their casting style and the style, and where they put their hand down when they send.
Right.
It. Were you the handler that puts palm up more? I noticed where.
Yeah, I would say probably I put more palm up. Yeah.
And I said, and
you didn't even
it's not
realize you did
significant.
that.
I guess
but when
not.
I looked, I said, where's he been? Where's that style? I mean, I can. There's certain, like if I watch Ray handle, he always has a real low elbow.
Yep.
And then you see other handlers, in relation to the tip of their nose, but it's just whatever your style is. I don't think any better or any worse than others, but I really noticed when you came in, you were more almost the palm facing the sky.
Up. Yeah, I would say I kind of almost put my ring finger down. Would say I would kind of have more. And the way most of my education, I say I went to Best Retrievers University. Most of my education has come from Rhodey and Kristen Best. And one thing that he always emulates is really bring that hand over slowly. Don't quick drop it, so you can kind of see that dog's last instinct when they're going to make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
The one pet peeve that I have and that we try to teach when we're talking with people in our training camps and seminars is that the guy that puts his hand so low that it's blocking the dog.
Right.
I think
good point.
I won't say there's no right or wrong way. I think if you're blocking that dog's view, it's wrong. But other than that, it's right. And a lot of times, and actually my wife Melanie is one that, started this. She'll have a handler and she'll say, they're putting that hand down, they're blocking that dog's view. She'll call them over. Okay, come here to the mat, drop down on your knees. Look at the picture that you're giving that dog, and she'll throw her hand down there, blocking their view. It's like, and you see that aha moment, where, wow, yeah.
I want the dog to be aware of it. I want them to see it in their peripheral vision. But you're right, I don't want to block in their view. I don't want them to have to feel like they have to look around my hand to see.
Now we have Rip and Mr. Mark Carter. Rip and Mark trained with Leo Joseph of Rivertown Retrievers. Again, Mark's a hunting guy. He hunts a lot. So he's probably one of those guys that's more comfortable in this remote position than others. Rip had a pretty decent, had a higher score in the first series, but came back with it and had an 8 in the second series, and really had a good second series, and that brought him down into the top 18.
See the shells eject over the top of the dog.
That's right.
Mark showing the judges got a safe gun.
Do you blow a sit whistle before you give this cast?
It depends. So like when Rip turned and looked at him and gave him that great eye contact, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah, well, he got an incredible cast.
But if you have a dog that's really staring at the marks and doesn't want to look at you, then I might blow a sit whistle. Ooh, he's got to hit that slot.
Did he miss it?
It looked like he missed it to me.
Did the dog pop? It looked like Mark was casting before I ever heard a whistle.
I don't think he popped. I think he blew. I think it was he casted and then blew at the same time, anticipating. Looks like he's got a windful. There we go.
He's turned the other direction.
He's got that cracking tail.
That's right. That's the hunting dog in him.
Look at that. Going like,
That tail action always makes me nervous.
That's right.
And
you love to see it, but it gets you.
I know you probably don't appreciate it, but this is a crosswind deal here.
Yeah.
The wind's blowing from right to left, so.
Got to get this cast.
Yeah, he got
it. Very nice. I think Mark will be happy with that. Get there.
I tell you, here's
You
another
gotta come
deal.
from the left there. You're gonna see it there.
Shot. Oh boy, got to be. Again, that's camera height, so
Right,
the
right.
handler's got a little less quality view than what you're seeing right there. So that's a scary deal when they go over the top of that hill.
Yeah,
and drop
that's a
down
little
to the
bit
bottom.
of a false horizon there at the end.
But I'll tell you, I just caught something. Look at this camera angle. You see it too. If you looked at the edge of the shed there, it looks like the cover. Maybe there's even a path or a gap in the fence there to the right that is going to draw them to it. But that's on the downwind side, so it might actually help the handler.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And I think we kind of saw it there with him. He started to go right, but he seemed to win that bird.
There's a little slot developing right there at the perfect entry point, but you got to get in the water now. Ooh.
Not only do you
He's
got
wet, but he's
all
he's
4
awful
feet
skinny.
dry. You got to
get past that decoy.
Ooh.
That's right.
You blow that come in, boy. All right.
So he right there, he didn't miss his opportunity. So he had the ability to blow that coming whistle. He hadn't missed the factory yet.
Yep.
And
he got a good direction change too.
You got to. I tell you, tell my handlers never to take your whistle out of your mouth on that cast.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, I know. You see him dart around that corner.
You want to be
now
casting
he's
with a
pulling
lung
back
full
toward
air.
the other one.
Right.
So now
I don't. That first.
talk about a tough spot. If he gets out of this one,
That
he'll
crack
pull
his
some
head.
magic
Ooh,
out of his hat.
I tell you, you're fighting for your life right here.
Good whistle.
Can he? This is where you sweat him a little bit. Then that what he find. Ooh. Yeah, I don't know. That dog's not giving up
He
on
really
it yet.
wants that bird.
But
No, it's a pat. I mean, you're expert at reading these dogs. I'm seeing two very, very different dogs. I mean, the last dog that we watched run, Pine, I think Pine really wanted to do the right thing. He's just like, do I get it? Do I not? I'm not going to commit to either one until I figure this out. It looks to me like, Rip, I want that bird.
He wants a bird in his mouth.
Yeah, I want it now.
I mean, you love the style that he showed in the animation, but now he kept the whistle in his mouth this time. Okay.
Tweet.
Oh, you gotta be quick. Ooh. I don't know how you. You got to get it over to get in the water, but you don't want to pick up the bird. Ooh.
And he went,
Oh.
he dropped it, and he didn't realize it.
I think once you put that bird in your mouth, I think at that point.
Darn it. Well, they're going to have to put that back out there.
So that's when you say put that back out there. I love when they when they throw the poison birds on the rope like that for our game, in this game, because you get a lot of bounce with those birds. They're not gonna land in that same spot every time. And so when they place that bird, and then by throwing it on a rope and reeling it in, every dog has a poison bird that's visible like that in the same position. Because if you get a hand thrown there,
Still wants the poison bird.
There's a hand. When you get a hand thrown bird there, there's a big difference between landing in the grass and landing in the water. You know,
huge.
So.
Absolutely. So all right, I'm going to tell you a quick story because that reminded me of it. Lardy's running. I'm running this national to St. Louis. Can't remember what year it was. Lottie's running her. She hadn't won a national yet. She was standing over the top of a poison bird just like that in mid-series, 6th, 7th series. We're watching. Lardy blows a whistle. Mrs. Candlewood tanks a lot. She hadn't had one a national yet. She's staring at the bird, looks at Mike, stares at the bird again. I mean, and again, she's not a dog length from this bird. And she literally starts to open her mouth. And Lardy goes, over! And she made half a step towards the bird and went on. It was like, she was, I mean, and this was at 200 yards.
We will never know how
she
they
was
would have
literally standing on top of that bird, and she was.
That's impressive too.
Well, she would not have won 3 nationals if she'd have continued on that, but it was so
I've never
close.
had a dog that would do that.
And
have you, Luke?
I think
I have.
That was the loudest over I may have ever heard in my life.
Now we have Katie and John Lamar, and Katie is owned by a good friend of John's called Carl Blackwell, who's also a field rep marshal for the Super Retriever Series. He's not with us this weekend, but he marshals a lot of the events. He comes over to, he's from the East Coast, and he comes over to the Central and marshals some of the events in Louisiana and for us. And so we get the chance to see Carl pretty often.
You know, we'll never know for sure, but when he spit that bird right back out, if Mark hadn't turned his back and been watching and casting back off and the dog had taken it, I don't know, they would have DQ'd him.
Well, I mean, you know what? You're going to fight to the last possible.
That's right. That's right.
I guarantee you. But yeah, if Mark had seen him spit that bird out, Mark would have continued to handle, I believe. I don't think he saw
I'm sure he was just so disappointed when he popped back up on top of it, like, oh.
So that dog took off towards the water there. That's the first one we've seen go right of that decoy on the initial send.
I mean, that's where the second bird went. So.
Right, yep, that's right.
So you're wondering, based on the speed of the dog's going, I think I think I need to get in the water. But now the dog is a little nervous about getting close to the water. This is what those land blinds near the edge of the water.
Yeah, sometimes when you give him that cast away, then it becomes a push. That water will push him.
You see now, the dog that wanted to go towards the water is just a bit confusion, but he got that cast. And he got between the...
Another dog that's got a good blind pace is very controlled. I tend to not have a whole lot of slow dogs, so sometimes a slower dog can be a little bit easier to run on these blinds like this. But when you get a fast dog, like you get a dog like Rip, or them dogs that are running just as hard as they do on a blind as they do a mark, they can get a little tougher on these tight slots towards the end.
That's looking pretty sporty there.
Looking really sporty.
That was good.
Wow. That's a
nice
strong
blind.
finish.
That was a nice blind.
It was a darn nice blind. It got a little bit choppy right around the goose decoys. Other than that, it was spectacular.
One thing I'll be curious on is there's a penalty deduction in the SRS for poor initial line. And given that they're a remote cast, I wonder if they're implying that poor initial line in their judging standpoint.
So I really think that the dog, when he gave it the overcast, was just breaking for the water, because that's where the last bird splashed.
That's right.
You know, I think that
I'd have a hard time being too worried.
I'd agree. I would agree.
I'd have a hard time being tough on him there too. I mean, the dog's doing what it should naturally do, and while a lot of us hunt with our dogs sitting remote, rarely would I ever kick a dog off on a blind from a remote position.
Right.
You know, so.
One of the famous places you see that at is Honeybreak. Honeybreak has big, nice duck blinds, and the dog is in their own box off to the side. And you'll see Jared actually have to cast his dogs out of the box from inside the blind before he can start handling them, because sometimes he can get in a position where he can walk out on the ramp and send them. But when you get those big timber blinds like that, sometimes you have to.
Yeah, our big blind on the Obion River is that way. The dog is actually down below you, so you're up elevated, so you're shooting, but you're not shooting over it. I mean, you're over his head, but you're way up here. And you know, I have to kick the dog off, and the dog's there protected. We've actually insulated it to protect against the sound also.
Got a little fat entry here.
Yeah. Now, if you're going to about hurting a dog in initial line, that might be an example that you might end.
That's right.
Because the perfect line is just off the butt end of that.
Yeah, right where that trail's coming through.
And there's a little hole in the cover.
And one thing that just occurred to me, I do in that situation though, with dog in the box, I always kick it off on back if it's a blind. And
versus the word over?
Versus the word over, versus the dog's name. Well, yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, if it's a mark out there, I mean, we shoot 3 birds, they fall in the hole. I feel like Zeus or Reba or whichever dog I'm hunting there with that day has seen them. Let's see what we get here. Now, I'm going to call their name, but if it's a bird that's hit way over here to the left, and I know there's no way they saw it splash, I'm going to give them a back, and they're going to jump straight out.
That was a very good whistle. She looked like she had committed to more land, and he got her on really good timing to get that next
When
cast.
I give a cast like that, I want to blow that whistle before I lose sight of the right shoulder.
That's right.
Amen.
when you cast to the right, you can see the right shoulder. When the dog's momentum shifts back left, you're almost a step too late. Now he's going to have
She's
that.
committed. He needs to.
All right. Turn towards the bird. This is going to tell you a lot.
I think what John's hoping for here is to get that angle cast and roll over that point.
And you heard John give a verbal, but I was watching John. He was really walking that cast out, and the dog didn't move.
Did he get a whistle? Did the dog? Did you have to blow 2 there?
He stopped on the first whistle. She did.
Well, that looks like a pretty good spot to be.
She's still digging.
Still wants to. Yeah. That time she turned away from the bird. See the difference?
Yep.
Versus.
You could see her intent there.
Because I usually tells you, all right, the dog understood why you blew the whistle. He probably thinks he needs to get more point.
Yeah.
I don't blame him. Especially
because you only get one shot at it. And if you have a dog that's kind of pushing off those points, that first one he had a little bit of trouble getting her on. He might have been worried about her rolling right around the edge of it and not being able to get it. So it was a safer play.
Kind of surprised that he gave the verbal there.
I am too.
And on that instance, as I watch him,
you know, it's.
But you see where he's standing? He moved to the right. He's over by.
You heard your commentary.
That's right. That's right. Sometimes you get when you say you're surprised to give a verbal there. Sometimes that's how people train.
Yeah,
sometimes that's how their camp is, and that they give the verbal off the point, and sometimes we give a silent.
It's looking awful nice right now.
Even though that dog made a few attempts to cut in towards the poison bird, it wasn't like I never felt that the dog was at risk of getting it. It looked like his body language was such that he was going to this dog was going to respond to being told, no, I don't want you to get that.
To me, this dog was kind of in the middle of Pine, and was it Rip? Yep.
We're going to see some scores here before too long, aren't we?
5 dogs, I believe, is what they normally go by. So
this is the 4th, 5th dog, I believe.
4th or 5th?
Pretty sure this is 5th. No, this is 5th. Yep.
3 o'clock. So we've. Oh no! Okay, here's it. Okay, he got it. He got out a little bit upwind of the line. All right.
Yeah, this was our 5th dog. We've had Brian and Daisy, John and Henry, Mark and Rip, John and Pine, and then John and Katie. So we've said 5. We should be getting some scores pretty quick.
So my January tradition, when I was with Lardy, when I was with myself, we were going to spend at least 1 week in January doing a land tune-up drill, multiple set of land blinds, probably 7 blinds, sometimes 8, and we started always incorporating a remote cast in that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
We always do a remote cast in just to this almost identical scenario.
What's your reason being?
Just to get dogs comfortable doing it.
You see it in all age events very often.
Not often, but enough.
But it's, yeah.
And when you do, everybody's back in the parking lot trying to get the dog to cast.
That's right.
You see everybody run back to the parking lot throwing a bumper out, trying to get them, just hoping they'll move. But we started doing that, and it, if you see 1 a year, when you'll see it. You see it more when judges come into a set of grounds that they know a lot of people train on. And they're trying to look for some way to maybe take the picture away from the people that are local to level the playing field. I've heard judges say that.
Yeah.
Things like running from behind mounds, no seams, things where they, because, when judges come in, they're going to see the blinds that other people see.
Right, that's right. We all think alike.
So they're thinking like, all right, I got to do something.
Like this would be a classic blind that a lot of judges would see.
Yes.
When you come up to run any event.
But I'll tell you, even though I've run blinds that I've seen, on the same grounds, doesn't mean my dogs are going to do them on game day.
That's right.
But anytime I want to add bells and whistles to things that I want to get dogs comfortable with, I use tune-up drills to expose dogs to scenarios that they're uncomfortable with to make them more relaxed. Remote cast is one of them. If it were me and I would add all the kinds of every scenario that I think I might see in an SRS incorporated into something like that.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I promise you, the land tune-up drills are one of the best things you can do to get, and then it really kind of launches them into the beginning of training season.
Right.
The water tune-ups too, but
yeah, but in your January cold season coming out, you know, you want to get them fine-tuned on something. You're going to use a land tune-up. This is Dre, owned and handled by Steven Guzman. Dre and Steven are definitely a threat in this game. They're one of the dogs that have a very high finish percentage in placements. Majority of the time when he signs up for the event on our weekend events, he's a finalist. So
cool.
They've had a great career together, and he's definitely a threat. I believe he got second place last year in the Crown.
He's using that lighter color camo pen.
He got fifth one. He got second and fifth over the last 2 years.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
very consistent team.
Very consistent. He got fifth last year. That is correct.
Okay.
Because Ron got first
and second. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So here's the time where you'd blow a whistle, wouldn't you?
Yes.
No. But he.
See, I gave a little mat slide to get him to look at him.
That was okay.
Because you know, when you think about it, I mean, we probably all overthink it, but you know, you'll get 2 points if you got to blow up a couple whistles to get him to look at you.
Okay.
Got the slot.
Yeah,
nice momentum. Good.
This dog's
great
got
start.
some speed.
Give a it was a great view of a straight up silent with a perfect response. All you want the dog to do is bump over. There's a little bit of an angle. Oh, he must have got a cast refusal or not the cast it. Yep. Now he's digging in a little bit harder.
No, this dog is super fast. I think he did the double whistle just to make sure he didn't auto cast or.
Did you go verbal with that? No, he didn't. It didn't.
He gave that
right there. See that spot he started?
Yeah, I see what you're talking about. It almost looks like a slot into the next piece of cover.
And then boom, it seems like they wind it right there.
He gave that coming whistle right before the pavilion, but I don't
Do you
think
really
he had
think they
passed
wind
it.
it? Or feel what direction the wind is? Are they going to wind it on the right, or did they see
from
it?
the left or right? Maybe they do see it. Well, so I'm at stop spot.
We got word that they're going to just run the amateurs only today.
So we will not see any professionals today, no matter what.
No, and because the wind's going to be blowing left to right in the morning. Going to the north wind.
Oh.
That'll make her interesting.
That will make it interesting.
So the reason they're going to go to finish AMs only so that one side runs in the most similar conditions as they possibly can. So the last few amateurs don't get completely different conditions.
Well,
since the amateurs are competing against the amateurs.
About that? I mean,
that's right.
They've put a lot of effort into level making sure everything is as fair.
Said noon. Somebody needs some sun on their butt.
Get on that shoulder. Ooh, got up there high.
I tell you, we never think we're casting as fast as we are.
That's right. You give a verbal there.
You ever see farmers sometimes, you'll see them wait 6-7 seconds to cast.
I get the opportunity to learn from Farmer quite a bit. Our home base is on Farmer's property.
All right. This is when you're going to sweat them. Ooh. But there's an example of taking the whistle out of your mouth.
That's right.
It slows you down.
That's right.
I not only don't take it out of my mouth, I've already inhaled ready to blow again.
That's right. You don't want to use all that lung air because you want to have something left to be quick.
But it's so common to want to take it out of your mouth. I said, you're not going to... He knew he wasn't giving a silent cast.
Or verbal.
Or, excuse me, he wasn't going to give a verbal cast.
Right, so there was no need.
So what's the reason to take it out of your mouth? Yeah, that's a... But it's a habit.
Yep.
Because I've never timed it, but it's a 1/10 of a second is all you've got. Not even, I mean, nowhere near a second.
Especially when you're on a point like that.
And there's the time sometimes where I say to myself, I'm going to blow a second whistle no matter what.
Sometimes you give the cast and blow a whistle no matter what. As soon as they get moving.
Right, exactly.
Right.
No, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm going to give the cast, but I'm not even going to wait to see if they take it.
Yeah.
I'm going to blow again.
That's right.
I'm going to give them one step.
That's right. That's right.
And stop. And then I'm going to try to make that whistle, that second whistle, as aggressive and loud as I can. We watched, that's right, we watched the one dog come back and almost took a look.
A bite out of it.
All right. Look at him, look at it. Yeah, he was paying attention.
He was ready.
Well,
overall, that was a pretty good run.
It was. It was. I'm
It
sure
was a
he
lot
wished
faster
he'd
pace
have been-
than the other ones that we've run. Dre has got a dog with a lot of style.
This looks like a cool dog to me.
Covers a
He
lot
is.
of
I mean,
ground.
they've
He's
all
a
looked
great
like cool
dog.
dogs, but
He's
this
been
dog-
successful in I think all venues.
What time did we run our first dog, guys?
I'd be lying if I told you.
Well, it's 3:12 now. What do you think this is taking? Is it taking?
That's what I'm trying to.
You know, it's been hard to establish because we've had a different speed of dog, and the first few dogs were on the slower pace, and now we've had a couple
7
fast
minutes,
ones.
7 to 9 minutes.
And if I would say because 9 minutes if they swim their way back, 7 minutes if they run their way back.
You know, a typical landblind is going to take 3 minutes ish.
Yeah.
3 to.
Now we've got Mike Gibson and Blaze.
Tell you, they're a little further back than you would expect to see them.
Blaze got his SRS amateur title this year. He had a few placements and got his win, and they've had a good year. He actually, when he got his amateur win, I believe he won that event overall, had the lowest score overall over the professionals as well.
Oh, I know.
Mike is a legend of this sport.
Doing a drive-by.
We all know him very well. I believe he's won the Crown Championship 4 times. He had a dog named Shady.
Dogs.
Yep, Shady, Jeter, and then twice with Trig.
I really enjoyed talking to him yesterday.
He was one of the guys that when I first started coming into this game, he was one that I looked up to quite a bit and still do. Me and him are always back in the gallery picking each other's brains and figuring out new ways to read the dogs and figure out something to better ourselves.
He played competitive. Well, it sounded like he was quite a basketball player and a. What's going on here? He's leaving the
baseball player, Oral Roberts. Yeah.
Maybe they didn't pick up the.
Lost the dog.
What I was about to say is we had 3 of the 4 coming up, starting with Gooseman, the guys that have been right at the very top. Stephen Gooseman with Dre, Mike Gibson coming up with Blaze.
So sometimes when the judges are having a discussion about a judging scenario, they ask that
don't
handler
want you to hear?
Correct. They ask that handler to come back the second holding blind and wait until then Matt will call them forward when they're ready.
Oh, what a great view of that. What would you think they'd be talking about?
My guess would be he gave that come-in whistle on the pavilion, and I don't think Dre was deep enough yet. I think he gave it as a security.
Oh.
And I think the discussion is, did he make it past the decoys and the come-in whistle or not?
I got you. Remember they said you only got one chance.
You only get one shot at it. And I don't think he was deep.
All right.
I don't think he was deep, but that's up to judge's discretion on when they thought he was there or not. These 3 judges have done a great job. They're very well-rounded guys. They've been very consistent with their scoring, and they've set up some very good challenging tests, and we've really enjoyed running under them.
We're going to see video review next year? You throw a challenge flag.
That's right. That's right. How many challenges do we get? One thing that you always like to see in being in the gallery and also as a handler is figuring out the scoring. Sometimes you get where the scoring can be inconsistent and it's hard to figure out, but I don't think anybody's been surprised coming off the line with their score. Everybody's felt comfortable with what they've gotten, and that's really good to see, especially at the Crown Championship, because then you really feel like the best dog is being rewarded.
You know, and there was a lot of action. And I agree with that totally. These guys have done a great job. One comment I'll make on that observation, there was a lot of action right there at the little hut there, too.
Yep.
I mean, we had, a double whistle that was, hey, did we have a cash refusal, or did he do it as a security, which was what I thought. And then we had another cast that brought him back across, and then the come-in whistle.
Yep.
And Dre is lightning quick, so it's a lot to process.
That's right, and every point counts.
Mm-hmm.
No, we have not seen any scores yet.
We're about to.
Maybe that's what they're doing here. I'll tell you, things that professionals do in the field trial game, you're going to start to watch the judge's reaction to some of those things that happen.
That's right.
I'm going to look over, because if they don't like it, they're going to look at each other. They're going to shake their heads.
That's right.
They're going to give you some indication that they just didn't like what just happened. And so when I'm watching other dogs and something happens a little odd, first thing I'll do is look at the judges to see if there's
a little discussion
if they're giving you any
on.
sort of
That's
information that tells you they didn't care about it or it really bothered them.
Have you ever spun around like that wondering, hey, did they say what they thought? And they're actually looking at each other talking about something that just happened previously, and you go, oh, they missed it completely. I know you've had that happen.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Here's another thing that I always looked at. I would look to see where the judges were sitting in relation to the map.
Yep.
When they're dead behind you, they're pickier about the line. If they're off to the side, they're a little more relaxed about the line usually.
I would agree with that. And these judges are in a good position where they have a good view of both blinds and a good spot to not miss a thing.
Now, this is a little different because the way the tents are set up, but on a weekend event, usually they're just sitting in a chair behind you.
That's right. That's right.
But it looks to me like they're set up where you've got one guy in the middle who can kind of watch both. You got, I think it's Dana there on the right that's got a dead down the line view of the land blind, and then Judge on the left is looking right down the water blind.
But here you've got all of these. It's right of one decoy, left of another.
That's right.
So there's a lot of references.
Yeah, checkpoints.
All right, here we go, guys.
Here we got some scores.
Yep. John Lamar and Katie have 74. Pine 101, John Lamar again. John and Henry at 115. Brian Broussard and Daisy at 127. And Mark Carter and Rip, of course, did not fish. Now, Dre was in the sixth dog to run, so usually
so we
after
haven't
5
seen
we
that
see
one.
him.
Right, we haven't seen
we
it.
haven't
So
seen
I'm really
his yet.
curious to see how bad are they hurting them for not coming off that last point as much as they
Yeah,
like.
and kind of riding left a little bit.
There were 2 dogs that did that, right?
Yep. And one of them was, I believe, was Pine, who had the lower score, the 74. They're getting you somewhere. Those scores were pretty high scores.
They were higher than I expected.
Yeah, me too. Especially on a couple of them.
I'm sitting here. I thought Henry had a better run.
I did. I was thinking the same thing. I thought Henry had the best run of them all so far.
Me too.
So are you saying dead bird or anything when you're putting them up there?
I'm not. When you put a dog in a remote position like this, you don't want to get too in their head. You want them to be relaxed up there and just be okay with leaving the line. For me, especially with the marks going off in the field, and for me on a poison bird, I want the dog to know where the poison birds are, because if they know where they're at, then they know where not to be.
Okay.
Pat, would you ever say dead bird up there in this situation?
I think it would be dog dependent.
Yes,
Some dogs
after the birds are down.
you can't get worried.
So for me, after the last bird goes down, before I send that dog, I'm probably going there.
Dre had a 93.
93, Dre. I'm probably going to say sit, dead bird, and then I'm going to give the cast.
Yeah, after the birds hit the ground, I would be okay with that, depending on the dog again. Everything, we always say, that's always the answer of a dog trainer. Well, depending on the dog.
It depends.
I could say probably for just about every dog that I've trained and ran in this situation, I would be cueing him with a dead bird.
Yep. What is it y'all like to say, Pat? Almost never?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost never. So he's having a hard time getting him to look at him.
Always, except.
He's going to blow a whistle here.
Give him a little hay. There you go. You got him off the line, past the decoy. Again, headed towards the water.
Are you worried about wasting 2 points to blow a whistle there? Really, when the scores are 90 points at once? I mean, if it gets me a better start.
Again, I'm going to say sit, and if they give me 2 points for it, then they get.
That's a great
but it's
view
not going to be
there. I
a
haven't
whistle.
seen that view before, but interesting view. I don't know if it gives you the perspective.
I gotta hit this slot and get a verbal there.
You notice how he gave the voice and then the hand signal? He was trying to get a tighter back. Maybe it didn't quite work the way he wanted. I bet you goes verbal left back here. Maybe not.
Blaze was a little bit confused to me.
Pay a lot of attention to the. See how the dog didn't look at the handler right away on that?
Yep, he kind of looked over.
They're telegraphing what they're thinking.
That's right.
See, I pay a lot of attention to how they stop in reference to how they normally stop. Like, okay, so he's looking. He's got good eye contact there. And I'm trying to count myself. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Sometimes I just want to change the tempo. If you can control the tempo of the blind, sometimes you can control the blind better. But it's hard to talk yourself into doing that.
That's right.
Good cast.
He got through there. He did. And on our land tune-up drills, I'll do. It may not be under a pavilion, but you can bet I'm going to have a line of hay bales or
some kind of keyhole
patch of cover. Another thing I like to do on them, I'll go especially if I'm in an area where I've got a lot of little small pine trees. I'll go cut 20 pine trees and I'll build a cover line. at a distance to have to handle through. You can take a blind pole and make a line of cover that's real distinct. You know, because, you know, that's just a great, and it takes a lot of practice from the handler to kind of set up the situation. You blow too many whistles too early, you get in a yo-yo and you can't get through the obstacle. If you don't blow enough, you don't get any of them. And
I like to say you almost try to approach an obstacle like you're hitting a bank shot when you're playing pool. You're looking to put the dog in the right position to give the cast you need to get through
exactly. Great. That's a great way of putting it. You're a pool player, huh?
I have been. Good initial line here.
Well, your first read. Oh boy,
that's a dad.
That was a fabulous initial line, though.
It was a good time on the whistle. As soon as that shoulder dropped left, he stopped him and he got control.
He gave that bigger cast and he didn't get much, so he did. Okay, we got that though. Oh, did he get it?
Yeah, we got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Almost a step slow, but he goes with a verbal.
Now that verbal there.
I don't like that verbal in that situation. I was taught that verbal cast does not shift momentum, it only enhances the momentum that's already going on.
That's right.
I'll tell you what I do like about this Blaze dog.
I'll tell you what, this. It turned to, oh, this is looking a lot like Lottie. Okay, let's see if he did. This is where you, walking out of road. I'll be darned. For me, that'd have been a verbal over.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, he got him off there.
And he got him off there. She got Blaze off there on a really, really nice line as well. Man, you talk about a dog that looked to me like it was fighting an internal battle big time. Oh, yeah. I mean, it would commit to the bird, and they'd stop, and then, okay, I'll work with you and go, and then turn and commit to it and stop, and then, okay, I'll work with you and go.
And you hear Pat talk about leaving your whistle in your mouth and always having a lung full of air, and Mike did a great job of being ready for those.
Yeah, he did.
When that dog committed those points and having a nice quick whistle to keep control of that dog, because like you said, that when he was on that point, that 1/10 of a second to put that whistle back in your mouth could have cost him.
Yeah, Mike still has the reflex. He says he was an athlete. Let me tell you, Mike still has the reflex.
He's got an athletic mind.
Yeah, he definitely does. But it was almost like, to me, on both of them, even on the lamp line, you know, Blaze looked really, really hard at that poison bird, and then came up. It was almost like playing tug of war there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, good for him. He's not letting his guard down. He didn't want anything stupid to happen now, like the dog spit this bird out and grab the poison bird. And there he goes. That's exactly what we talked about.
That's right.
Probably glanced at it. I couldn't tell from here, but he said,
sometimes you're going to see a handler with a lot more whistles may get a lower score, because it's not always about the number of whistles on a blind here. A lot of times the judges have a corridor picked out, and if you're outside of that corridor, if you're not challenging the line to the blind as well as they would want you to, you're going to be accumulating some points for that.
well, they made it pretty clear they wanted all 4 feet on both points.
Yep.
There wasn't much. There wasn't much. There was lots of clarity there.
So when you come back from, if you were running this test, when you come back from that land blind, are you going to remind the dog of either of those marks and know them off before you run the water blind, or are you just going to come up and position them for the water blind and run your water blind?
Well, you're still essentially pointing them in the same direction.
Right.
If the poison bird is way off to the left or somewhere that wasn't. But I am going to make sure they know they're doing a blind and not a mark.
But are you going to come back and position them for those birds and give them a cue, some type of cue, leave it or no bird, and pull them off before you run your water blind?
If I see any animation that makes me think they're thinking mark, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because they're going to tell, the minute they turn around, you're going to look and you're going to be trying to read their intent. Do their ears come up? Do they start to raise their head? Do they act like they think, oh, I get to pick up the bird now? The minute I do that, I'm going to give them the information. And the timing that information of either sit, no bird, it tells them, don't even think about it.
Right. One thing, you know, and that's, I think that makes a great point, because if they don't come up and give you that animation and you pull them off of it, then then they may not want to get on the point.
Right, they may flare, get in early if I'm so.
So you're waiting for that. You're waiting for the information before you give them their information.
Well, I'm certainly, yeah, but there's not much delay. I mean, it happens quick, and if I see a dog,
we got Tim Williams and Caleb here. Tim is from Texas, and he trains with J.C. Strange out of Cripple Creek Retrievers. Tim and Caleb, they really hit the SRS for their first time hard this year, and they had a great
First
year.
time we've seen this.
So they get a freebie there to put them off and take them on the mat as much as they want.
No, I don't think that counts as a freebie because
they can if they come off, they can place them back on the mat as much as they want until they shoot the marks.
Then you
get one freebie, and then.
So explain to me what the freebie is. If the dog came towards you.
So if he shoots the marks and then the dog comes off the mat, the handler gets one free shot to take the dog back and place them back on the mat, walk back to the handler's mat and give the cast. If they come off again, then they get into 50 points before they see
Okay, all right. But it took a while before they decided they were going to handle it that way, didn't it?
Right. Well, because there was questions on it. Is the dog come to me, or what happens if the dog creeps? And basically is if the dog comes off the mat at any point after you've shot, that's your one freebie to put them back on. And if you don't send from the mat, then you get 50 points. So that's why they give you that freebie to put them back on.
Got it. No dog other than that dog started to come towards them.
Right.
After he.
A lot of times you put some of the dogs that are a little bit wild on the line, you put them in a remote position, they tend to be a little bit steadier.
Oh, yeah.
Over.
There's your verbal over. Going towards the water. Blaze and Mike with a 102. Gotta hit that slot. Hard to tell.
Had a big wind shift just occurred.
Yeah, just a big gust at least. Yeah. Sometimes that swirl. Ooh.
Tell you that wind. Now it's coming from behind us and to the right just a little bit, so it is coming off of the poison bird on land.
Boy, I go big verbal with the left here because he had the slot. He just got it. Well, you could feel the egg.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's your verbal. Get your butt out of there, cast. And he did.
Pat, sounds like you know what you're doing.
Is it silent? I always say silent into the wind, verbal with the wind. You know, typically.
Yeah.
Because now these are into the wind cast here.
I think he hit that whistle just a tiny bit fast. I think the dog was seeing the picture.
Okay, there's your silent cast. What's it? Okay, there's your. You got too
now,
much
right here is where that slot I was talking about.
This is a tough cast here to get.
You got to get a big over through that.
I think,
and it's hard to tell where you are in relation to it.
Yeah, the depth perception is difficult there.
Oh, he threw a voice in. Did he get it?
Oh,
no,
he missed that slot.
Did he hit it?
No,
I thought I saw
went to the
He
right.
went to the right of the right decoy.
That's what I thought.
And he knew it too.
And that left back there is, I think, much harder to get because of that gap and the little fall off. We've seen just about every dog after they went through the hut fall off to the right.
Yep.
When they get out as far right as this dog was, they can see that.
When they're trying to hit that spot like that, you've got to lead them.
I would much rather
if you blow where you want them to stop, they don't stop where you blow. They stop 5 or 6 paces after that.
Yep.
So sometimes you have to just be careful.
P-break.
Yeah.
I would much rather be a little bit wide to the left on that at the end than wide to the right.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm with you.
Tim and Caleb spend a lot of their time running hunt tests and competing at the master national level. But he started to, him and Caleb have been a really good team. They started to kind of venture out. He's been running some field trials. He's run them in a lot of SRSs, and I believe they won that last SRS of the year, the last chance qualifier, Firewater.
Wow. Firewater, South Dakota?
No, Arkansas was the name of the event.
Good cast. That's
right. Firewater Retriever Club is a new club in Arkansas.
Right. Yep.
That's what you were talking about earlier, Pat. Give the whistle.
Yeah.
Give the cast, and knowing you're gonna blow the whistle no matter what.
Got on land.
All right.
It was hard to tell if he got up there, but it looked like it.
I saw some splashing going on there.
Well, it's going to get real here in a second.
Yep, I got a fast dog and running water.
I'll tell you, he's got to change his attitude and his mind right here.
I have a feeling if you asked him, he'd say it's very real right now.
Very good whistle. I would.
Boy, you need it right now.
I don't think the dog could hear the whistle charging through that water.
Got that silent. Got a good cast off of that.
Nice cast. That's textbook right there.
Yep. Takes a lot of trust for a dog to take that cast off of a bird that they see and they know it's there and they really want it.
Yeah,
That's
he
good
made
teamwork.
two real, attempts to try to pick it up, but then gave up on it. They kept playing with the location of where they were going to leave that poison bird.
Right.
Initially, it was further right.
Right.
I think they made a good choice.
Yeah, I agree. Especially with that running water right there. Sometimes we see them really, really close to the line. It almost feels like that wind's coming left or right a little bit.
Yeah, there's a little shift there now. You're right.
Well, it
Definitely.
changed 2 or 3
Definitely.
times. Yeah.
It's gotten a little chillier all of a sudden. So you're not only going to see it, now you're going to smell it. That poison bird. This was a longer one.
Caleb is a Louisiana dog. You've got, I think we had 3 Louisiana dogs come through here this weekend. We got Caleb, Gus, and Bully.
Were all those owned by the parents?
Yes. Yep.
Because I work with Laura every year, and I've seen all these dogs. It's just been over the course of the last 4 or 5 years.
Caleb is out. I believe Caleb is out of Pam Wilson's breeding to her Hallie.
Oh, yeah.
Fox and Hallie.
Well, she's done well.
Yeah.
You see Tim sitting there holding that whistle in his mouth. He's ready. He's not going to.
Yeah, I really preach to my people. There's nothing good happens when you're not watching your dog.
That's right.
Don't turn around. Don't talk to the judges. And if you do talk to them, you don't need to look at them when you talk to them. You're watching your dog. Alrighty. Hey, finish that nice.
Yeah.
That was good handling.
That was good. He did a great job. The whistle timing was great. When that dog really wanted that poison bird, he kept in control, kept his whistle in his mouth, and came and stayed focused. Next up, we're gonna have Ron Anderson and Rip. Rip is a force to be reckoned with. He was the voted on by the most impressive dog of the year by his peers this year for the Crown Championship. I believe he had a 5.6 point start average finish, which is an incredible feat. And Rip's a young dog. He won the Crown last year at 3 years old.
So tell me again, when you say is that 5.6 points per start?
Per start, average per start.
How many do you get for a first?
6.
Yeah, almost all but one every trial.
Yeah. So I think he said he ran 6 trials and won 4 of them and got second in the other 2.
Well, that's how you get 5.6.
That's right. Ron is also one of the amateurs that's won the Crown multiple times. He's won with his dog Bella, Smoke, and now Rip. Rip's our returning Crown champion from last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Bella is Rip's mother as well.
Yep. When you win in the SRS, when you win the Crown, you're qualified for life. So you'll see Ron actually competing in the Open division a lot during the course of the year, trying to get the Open titles on his dogs.
That's been a discussion in field trials about a dog to win a national. Are you going to give him, like the Masters, you get lifetime?
Right.
And I said, like lifetime. It's not like you're going to do it for 30 years.
Right. That's right. That's right.
I had no problem with it. I mean, I thought it was actually a good thing.
So Rip is from Ethel, Louisiana, or Ron and Rip are from Ethel, Louisiana. They are down there with Chumac Kennels and Chuck McCall. They train together a lot, and they've been around each other for years.
Ron also trains
Look where he's got him positioned. He's got him at the back of the mat. The dog has to have a piece of his body on the mat, and he's got his front feet on the mat and his back end off.
Think that's a strategy?
I would guess.
What advantage? Oh, because he knows he's going to creep.
He's a little bit of he's giving himself a few steps.
Now I understand.
He's giving himself a little bit of a few steps so he doesn't have to reposition him.
Look at him looking over there.
That's called knowing your dog right there.
That is smart, smart, smart. And
There'd be
also,
nothing wrong with you saying sit while you're shooting.
Correct. You can talk to the dog all you want.
you know, you also noticed he had him as close to him as he could get him because I think he wanted to, you know, have him feel his presence.
Well, that was...
He took off good, but he was a little cautious of where he was sending him. Got to the left of the decoy in a good spot.
What makes dogs nervous running? I mean, they think, hey, I need to be in the water. What are you doing?
Nice whistle there. Probably could get a side. Yep, good side.
That was well done.
Now I'd let him roll.
Building up some speed here.
He went with a silent right-hand cast. Got a perfect cast.
Caleb and Tim had a 175.
Of course, 50 of that came from missing that keyhole.
From missing that keyhole.
Yeah, I think if I'd have been Ron, I might have let him run a little bit. It looked to me like he was kind of seeing the picture and wanted to bend back in.
He goes with a bigger cast because he didn't get as much as he wanted. His dogs, actually, he didn't move on that first cast. There he went.
Well, see, you see the gap right there behind the dog, the gate.
You think they're targeting that lower patch in the cover?
Oh, I guarantee you that.
Oh, so you tweeted him in there. That's going to be a discussion.
I don't think he was deep of it. I think he wanted to make sure he didn't get deep of it.
So, tell me what the penalty was for tweeting him in?
There's no penalty for it, but once you've passed the obstacle, you can't bring them in to try to hit it again.
So are they just treating that as if he missed the obstacle?
Yeah,
I think that would be the discussion. Since he blew a coming whistle, was he there or was he not? I don't think he was deep enough yet, but
that's a tough, you know.
It's a tough position to be in.
I think
from a judge's standpoint, to try to identify.
And as a handler, you're afraid of, do I blow that coming whistle because I might get the refusal? Do I give myself more room? Are they going to consider that as a 50?
I think that he was clearly.
So Ron's a two-sided guy, and you're going to see him put Rip on the right.
That water blind off the right.
Yep.
I think he was clearly in front of that snow goose decoy. I think he was just playing it safe.
I think so.
I mean, and for that reason, I mean, think about Pat. You were asking, you know, do I really think they're going to go down there? Look at just animal behavior in general. When you're out deer hunting, the deer generally aren't going to go across the highest point in the field. If they're crossing a big open field, they're going to go in the lower spot.
They're going to look for that next gap.
Yeah.
Good initial line. Maybe it's going to get a little fat. Good whistle.
Yeah, I'm certainly happy with that. And he's doing what most trained dogs would do. He's deferring to take more water. But he was... No voice here? No. That's a great whistle.
Yep, got dry.
Great whistle there.
Ooh, little auto cast.
He went the wrong direction. Let's
see him kicking his nose up and looking over there. He's thinking. Got it. Good whistle.
Another great whistle is right. Keeping the whistle in his mouth on the silent cast. And the first bump over that he stopped him, because it's not so much where he is on line. You got to change his intent.
Yep. You want him committed to swimming by it and then put him on it.
Yeah.
I tell you, I wish Bobby was up here with us, Bobby Wills, because you and I haven't disagreed on anything over the last 2 days, but I think it's all about the way you train in your dogs.
Yes,
it is. When that dog was coming off of that point and he stopped him and he gave him that whistle, and you said that's a great whistle, for me that would be a horrible one. I would never do that. I expect my dog to know he better get his ass back in the water on his own.
I'm going to do that next Tuesday in training, but I'm not doing it like...
Holy no. Oh, don't get this Rip. Come on. Give him a big back.
Over.
Oh.
Shit.
Oh, my God.
Oh, darn it.
I'd have been firm on that one. That would not
That's
happen.
heartbreaking.
That is heartbreaking.
Yeah. Well...
Man.
You remember the wide world of sports. That's
right.
That's the agony of defeat. Right there.
You know, Rip and Ron still had a great year. They're still one of the top dogs in this game. You know, you hate to see it they're in like that, but you still.
I mean, I don't know what he could have done different.
No, he did everything that he could. Rip just was committed.
Mm. Whew. Well.
One of the rare times you'll see Ron.
I tell you what, we've all been there.
That's right.
We've all been there.
Amen. No, and I'll tell you why, Pat, I would do it here and not just Tuesday in training. I do expect him to get back wet, and I also expect my dogs to give me direction changes. And if that dog's indicating he's going back to that water at all and I stop him, I'm going to expect him to do exactly what Rip did on the next cast. Go back to the left and go back to land.
So you think he's going to be thinking I'm going to go to the other direction? Okay.
Exactly. And I'm not saying I'm right or wrong in doing that.
Listen, I love having good discussions.
I will tell you this.
That's what it
Man, I hate to sit here and talk about something that one of the dogs that, but when I won this event up in Madison, Wisconsin, the Great Outdoor Games, Achilles got in a spot where I could not see the dog at all, and I wasn't worried about it. All the confidence because he went into the left, and I needed the dog to go back to the right, and I didn't even raise a hand. I blew the whistle. He stopped. I didn't give a comment. I just yelled back, and my total expectation was he was going to turn
opposite direction,
and he did. So to take that a step further here, it looked to me like Rip was going to come into the water. He may have been a hair left, but he wasn't trying to run down the bank. It didn't appear to me. And I know most people are going to stop him there to keep that from happening. With my dogs, I would expect.
But let's talk about in hindsight. That dog, maybe he knew something because the dog got the poison bird. So awful right-handed cast. So how do you I totally agree with you when I feel the dog is in the ultra compliant state of mind.
Oh, so here's the deal. Turn off your microphones, guys.
That's right.
I meant to tell you that one last night, but
so we got a no-bird here.
Brother.
We've got Cash and Jason Flasterer on the line here. Cash is a Grand Hammond Retriever champion, Master Hunter, and I believe he's got 2 Master National passes.
Well, we don't have the poison bird back out, do we?
That's why they call
the no-bird. So Jason and Cash are from Nebraska. They host he's a hosts an SRS event in Nebraska every year, and always puts on a great event. Does a great job hosting.
I think everybody just went to sleep for a second then before Cash came to the line.
I think everybody is just as when you see Ron Anderson and Rip come off the line, the last thing you think about is putting a poison bird back out because it's not normally something that happens.
The dog that won it last year has been the most consistent of the year this year. Yeah, I'd lost the farm on that one for sure. But I mean, they're dogs. They're dogs.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
That was probably as good an example of what I was just saying as I've ever seen.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, if you could hear, if I could replay some of the conversations, maybe Ray, Andy, and I say Ray Vogt, Andy Attar, Mike Lardy, and myself sitting here talking like this, and the passionate, not that you thought the other person was wrong, but you were passionate about what you believe in. I love those kinds of discussions. I never shy away from the opportunity to
look at a different
have
viewpoint.
Thought-provoking dialogue, and great stuff.
We've all got our styles. Of course, the old dog trainer saying, you put 3 dog trainers together, the only thing they 2 of them are going to agree is that the third one's wrong about something.
Right, that's right.
That's not the case with us, you gentlemen.
No, that's funny. All right. You know what? I always loved to run a blind after the dog ahead of me failed. It put me in a better frame of mind. If the 2 dogs ahead of me kill it, I'll fall asleep sometimes.
That's right.
If I see the dog ahead of me, tell you what, I start digging a hole in the holding blind. I start kicking the dirt and
big
digging
throw
in.
on that poison bird right there. That one was a little deep.
I keep waiting for a bass to hit that.
That's a little top water plug.
It's like a top water plug out there. They jerk that poison bird back and it makes a big
old white hula popper.
Sit. He's trying to say.
He's trying to snap his fingers and say sit.
Well, they say you have to be in a position to be able to touch them.
He might have been off the mat.
The dog was off the mat, you think?
No. When he stepped to cast.
Well,
Tell you what, that's a good start.
This is one, and again, Jason and this dog hunt a lot, and this is a dog that's comfortable in that remote position, and I think that makes a big difference on how they do on their
Let's
blind.
see what he does on this cast here. With a quick verbal. Dog's got a lot of momentum.
Wow.
No, he just put the bird in his mouth. Goes voice.
Good cast. Every one of them.
Going towards that little gap you're talking about.
They've all recovered from there.
I can see the dog's head. You think the hammer can? Ooh, we went the wrong way.
Just as I say, they've all recovered from there. This may be the first.
Here!
Dog going in a hunt position. Man, this is one that just eats you alive to the handler too, because it's so
Straight on the
good to
way
get
there,
right
and then
there.
it's just hard to box, hard to finish.
Yeah, I got a little ding there.
Still overall.
Still pretty
good
darn
run.
nice blind.
Yeah.
But me as a handler, I get mad at myself because I think I let him down a little bit. I should, you know, you were a little quicker on that last whistle maybe, and
Well, I don't
stick
think
the
that
bird in
cash.
my-
Yeah, I don't think you know that he saw him when he gave that coming whistle, and he
No.
went right. You know, it's just one of the
Yeah.
things that's out of your control.
Well, absolutely. Anytime I'm hoping they're going to see the marker or something like that, I regret it. Okay.
Yes. No. Here. Here. No bird. Here. Sit. Here. Come here. Yes. Sit. Feel.
I'll tell you what I'll do sometimes. I can think of this. I have a hot dog. I'm gonna front finish him here on that deal.
Okay.
Make him make eye contact with him. Walk up, take the bird, get rid of the bird, and then heel him around.
Oh.
Especially if I want to if I want to make them a little more serious.
Oof. Had a great initial line, but then they got a little skinny. Got to turn towards the water there. That's good.
Ooh, you're risking missing this, but I think he'll get it. Just
Oh no, he hasn't.
did he get
Now
it
you
right?
got one chance here.
No, he didn't.
Walk him over to it.
He got
it.
Wow.
All right, now he's got
What a dog.
I would definitely let the dog
That's a
roll
good
for a
cast there.
second.
There's a commitment.
Yep.
Good whistle.
Great whistle.
What are you going to give? Straight up right silent?
Oh, I'm giving an angle there.
Me too.
Okay.
Give an angle and take a step,
Right.
and then right
But
here.
you're going to get a read on the compliance level on that
That's
first
right.
cast.
That's right.
And right here, I'm going to let him roll until he gets about even with it. I don't want to try to get him dry too
You may
early.
give a little bit of a less cast just because so you got more if you don't get it. But
Right, you're at risk.
Yeah, there we go. Now I know I'm going to get him dry.
he's dry now. He was dry.
Well, I can see a verbal there because he was just on the far tip of the point.
Right. That's right.
Because you had room.
Pretty good run going.
Okay, this is a really nice run.
Yeah.
Started a little bit rocky
But this
with the
wind
initial
definitely has
line.
shifted.
Yep. Got a little bit of left to right gust coming in.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That gap, I don't think he let him quite get deep enough where he's happy between him. And if he let him get deep enough, they're winding it there.
If you look at the water, though, you can see that when that wind comes left or right, you don't see the ripples until you get out in the middle of the pond. And that's tied to that shoreline. There's almost no wind when it's coming. But when it's right to left, you see the wind all the way to the bank.
all the way up to the...
I'd much rather have it right to left.
I
with
think
this
so,
water
too.
line, too.
As a judge or as a handler?
As a
Well, it
handler.
depends on how
I get-
hard it is. If it's
Depends on
too
the
hard,
dog.
it's pushing
It depends on the
yeah.
dog. That's like we say for everything.
Exactly.
A dog that doesn't like to cast in the wind, I
The
want
right to
or
left
right.
wind's blowing you into shore.
That's right.
But the left to right wind...
Blowing
you
the poison
smell-
bird towards you.
Blowing the... Right.
So
Yeah.
it depends on the dog.
So with a gentle, if it's a really hard wind blowing you to the shore, I don't think I'd like the right to left. But I'll think if we're gonna have a gentle wind breeze one direction or the other, I want it right to left.
All right.
So we talked about earlier, seeing the same thing and judges doing things different like this because of that. Do you think it would have been more difficult, this water blind, if they'd have maybe moved the line a little bit further to the right where the actual line took you wet past the first point and then you had to get dry
Buy
on the
one
second?
and get on the next one? Would it have been more difficult?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Here's why I don't think so. because I think you could have been more defensive as they approach the poison bird. If you were forced to get on this point and you cast off the first point and they grab a little bit, and I mean grab by grabbing land and dirt on the left, and lunge a little, your risk of A, not getting a whistle stop because of the running water, and B, I think by putting them up on that first point, you risk
you're setting
a message. It's okay to be on land versus in the water.
Right, and you're giving a little commitment to that poison bird. I think sometimes if it was a bigger swim and you had a dog that really wants to beach, and once they beach after a big swim they don't like to get off, then maybe it could be. But I don't think it's a big enough swim for that. I'm thinking more in agreement with Pat that I think if you're keeping them in the water, you're keeping them off that poison bird the whole time, rather than giving in a little bit to get them on that first point.
And I'll tell you, the handlers you could have played it fatter, and it would have been hard for the judges to decipher that. In other words, fatter by being further out in the water. Where are you going to draw the line? Like, at what point are you challenging the blind? At what point are you staying too far off line?
Gotcha.
When you force them to put all 4 feet up there, it's the same for everybody at that point. There's no denying what are you on or you're not.
Right.
But I know what you mean. Sometimes
you take the poison bird out of it, I think it might make it a little more difficult
to go buy one and
and get on the next one. But when you throw the poison bird scenario in there, and that's what I've kind of been battling back and forth with.
Right.
I personally, for me and my training, my dog's experience, I definitely think, in particular if you had like 3 and you get to go past 2 and get drown 1 or vice versa, man, you're exponentially increasing the difficulty. But when you throw the poison bird in there, that changes things.
Yep. Here we've got Huck and Brian Broussard from Louisiana. Brian had a great year with his dogs. He's got both of his dogs qualified for the Crown Championship, and both of them made the top 18. He titled both of them this year and got wins on both of them. So Brian's had a good year. I have my whistle in my mouth.
Boy, Brian came off that mat awful fast.
I couldn't
they didn't
tell
go
how.
to the dog, but it looked like he'd passed that decoy already by the time he came off that mat. You got to get him left.
Boy, it makes me, when they're not sitting on that whistle and they're standing up.
Those coming whistles like that are always going to be a discussion.
Oh. Well, sometimes that wind is back right to left again. Or at least coming off that.
Yep.
It may be in the process of shifting. But maybe this dog always stands up on a whistle. I don't know. I tell you, it's unnerving to me, though.
Good whistle. Go over here. Oh, wow.
He turned the wrong way, but went the right way.
Cast. That's right.
Like, how does that happen? Well, look at.
Oh, then we got to go again. So, the handler can't see the dog when they're back there. You're getting that high point camera
just
view.
over a hump.
Yep. Brian runs a lot of hunt tests. He runs the international HRC International Grand, runs some AKC Master tests, and he's a big hunter. He likes to hunt a lot. He hunts with his son and his grandson. They spend a lot of time hunting together.
Well, here are some scores coming up combined. So we've had 2 dogs pick up the poison bird at this point.
We had, and oddly enough, they're both named Rip.
That is.
I guess they're both going to rest in peace.
That was good. Here we go, lining up for the water blind.
Can I sell tickets to your Friday
That's
night
right.
performance?
That's right.
I'll be here all week.
That's right. Oh, a little skinny.
Yeah.
I always feel more comfortable running a water blind when I get a fat entry than a skinny entry.
Yeah.
Me too.
It kind of sets the pace, and it looks dry. I can't tell.
Is he blowing it come in there when he drops?
I think he's just straightening
Or is he
them
just
up.
trying to straighten them up? Okay.
Yeah, dog.
Oh! Back! Back!
We got expensive chairs and snacks.
Don't lie, he looks good. Sit. 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 Mark. Mark. No, that bird. Heel. That bird. Back.
CO2 blueprints from Rex Card's property.
CL2 is named after Carlab Kennels. That was Rex's kennels was Carlab Kennels. He had his kennel site, CL1, they called it Carlab 1, was the kennel and a little bit of a swim-by pond and a drill area. CL2 was their training ground that was 10 miles from the kennel. And it was a bunch of real technical water built. This is in California, in the about 100 miles east of San Francisco, and it's where Rex trained all the time. And Carlab CL2 is Carlab 2. Now there was a series of ponds. There actually one of the ponds was named Soupy's Pond. That's the pond that a lot of people like to mimic. Soupy was Super Chief.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if August Belmont helped him build it or he just helped make it, but for whatever reason they called the one pond on the far end Soupy's Pond. CL2 was there's a lot of interesting stuff about it. Actually, when Rex built it, the water's pretty shallow. It's filled by irrigation water. And whether this is a myth or not, I don't know. But prior to the collar, the word was that Rex would actually, he loved horses.
Yeah.
And he'd run and he'd go out and reprimand, and he'd go out with the horse out to the dog to correct the dog on horseback.
So it made the ponds deep enough where the
horse could run, but the dog would swim.
That's right. That's right. So this is the Rivertown ponds. So they've got some of it is some of it's self-designed and some of it's off of some CL2
Well,
blueprints.
it certainly looks that way. Yeah. CL2 had a lot of small islands.
We call it the water park. There's a lot going on there.
I found it, and a number of years later, I would go back to CL2 or we would Tree National.
Yeah, I've been there.
It's a difficult place to interpret dog's intent.
Right. That's right.
Sometimes you don't
RTR.
know if they're casting into the water or they're just jumping to the next piece of land.
That's right.
I've never been to CL2. I've been to the RTR.
Yeah,
side.
Rivertown's place.
Yeah.
And I've got the opportunity to train with Leo and them a few times, and they do a great job of making sure when they're training their young dogs on that water, they're very clear with them and make sure they have an understanding of that technical water, because sometimes it can be overwhelming looking out there and seeing all those points.
Right. You could make them really nervous and neurotic.
Well, you know, that's one of the things I learned from watching some of those old Rex Carr interviews. You know, he talks all about don't make it too busy for the young dog. You know, it has this great technical water, but use it judiciously and don't make it too busy for that young dog so they understand. And
so one thing Rex had out there, he had that technical water, but 2 or 3 miles away was Woodward Reservoir, which was a huge body of water. I mean, thousands of acres, you know, and they would use different bays and they would do some big water stuff there. I remember going out there the first time before I went to work for Mike, and I was in my 20s, and I was traveling with Judy Aycock and Bill Schrader. And I watched them do a 400 or 500 yard water blind on Woodward, and they would have remote handlers. They would handle to a certain point. Somebody else would stand up, and they would.
That's awesome.
It was a.
That's really cool.
And I thought, wow, because you couldn't see the dog the whole way. So maybe the initial handler would handle the first 200 yards. The next person would step out and run the next batch, and it was a way they could do
that's really cool.
a really long water blind that they probably couldn't have done otherwise.
Only Lardy would think of something like that.
But no, that was Judy and Schrader.
Judy,
that was not
yeah.
Mike.
This piece of water that we're on here is a really nice featured piece of water. It's a really good size. It's not too terribly big. You can get it from different ways. It's a really good technical piece of water with some land off of it.
No, this wasn't built for dog training, was it?
No, I don't believe so. Not that I'm familiar with.
You know, some of my favorite water is water that has got some character, but wasn't.
It's all natural.
Wasn't built for dog training. And I tell you, there's just the right amount, and there's enough big water here to make some of these casts into the water look difficult.
Now we have Ray Cato and Traeger, another amateur team that had a great year.
You know, it was common back in the olden days to actually have a float where you put the bird out of the water. We used to call them rat traps.
Yeah, rat traps.
Do you ever see it at all?
I have. When I first started working for Rody, he showed it to me that they had an actual rat trap he had on a little piece of plywood that he had glued 2 swimming pool noodle pieces underneath it, and he would flip it out there and had like a little pulley system. He'd pull it out to the middle of his pond, had them stick up in it, and put the duck's beak on the rat trap and pop it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
We would throw a rock out there to it.
I had a couple of old Acme rat traps, the real rat trap, and take a piece of the styrofoam insulation and glue it to the bottom of it to give it just a little bit more buoyancy. Used to use them all the time.
Again, you can do an out to sea blind without having to throw across the whole ocean.
That's right.
And we used to see them. Man, I can remember early in my career, we would see rat traps all the time at HRC on tests.
The dog almost came off the mat towards him.
Almost.
The sun has popped out. Really, it's gotten quite bright, hasn't it?
You see Ray really tried to make an effort to stay on that mat till he passed that decoy, balancing on one leg.
And Ray and Traeger had a great second series. I think put up a 14.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, get that slot.
Got it.
That keel's really small when you get up there.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Well, and it's thicker cover right between the decoys, so it's not.
Oh, it's coming in. Ooh. I would go left verbal here.
Well, he did half of it.
He went left, but he didn't.
Didn't give the verbal.
Now he's got an end of the wind cast. They got it though.
It almost looks like there's kind of a mode strip or some kind of road right there.
Yeah,
Got to roll with.
I noticed that earlier. See, that dog sees that gap.
A little bit of a coasting loopy.
This is where, man, he's
trying to get away from it. He's getting in a tough spot here.
I'd be pulling him in, I think.
I think he noticed that light-colored Holden blind over there and shot over there.
Yes,
like
I do too. I totally agree. I'll be darned. Well,
came into the right spot.
Nice.
Well, listen, we all felt it. You just said it.
Oh, I hate it for that dog.
Oh, I saw it.
I mean,
Yeah.
this Ray Carroll, man, super great people. I love this dog, Traeger, but he was as loose as I've ever seen him today. I think that is. That shot me
Traeger had a
almost
really
as
good
much
year,
as
though.
Rip.
You know, you hate to see it finish like that, but Ray and Traeger had a great year. They made the top 18 in the Crown Championship. You got to be proud of them at the end of the day.
Oh, super
Well, I'll tell you what sports, you fumble one time in the third quarter in the game and you lose the game, even if you are ahead.
That's
This
right.
is and that's the nature of this. It's easy to go from Cy Young to sayonara.
I'm sitting here texting Cy Young right now.
Gosh, darn it.
Hey. Thor Boats, we actually have a new dealership, the Boat Dock, over in
The real Cy
Lexington,
Young?
North Carolina, and Cy Young is one of the owners. He and his partner Tammy, and he and I have been sitting here texting for the last couple of
That's the real
seconds.
Cy Young?
Well, he'll tell you he's a real Cy
That's
Young,
right,
probably.
that's right.
And
Now we have, what is this, Lane Blanchett in Georgia? I don't know if I'm saying his name right.
I tell you, I'm looking at the scores here, too, guys, while we're waiting on Lane to come here and get set up. By throwing up that 57 with Tex, man, Stewart made the first big move. Right now, John Lamar and Katie are in second place among the AMs with a 74. But, I'm sorry, they're in third place with a 231 after 3 series. 222, Huck and Brian. 165 for Stewart and Tex. So he opened up a big gap.
That's right.
Well, you've DQ'd 3 of the 6 dogs that
Yeah.
you need to get rid of. So
Yeah.
you've only, if everybody does this, you're
You only got to
gonna
beat 3
drop
dogs.
3 dogs.
Yeah. When you talk about the cut, this year was, you know, when do you make the top 18 cut? Oh, dog came towards him. So now he's got to put him back on the mat.
He's probably asking him, okay, how does this work?
Yeah.
That's his one mulligan?
That's his one freebie to put him back on the mat.
He said,
Oh, came off the mat.
Came off quick.
The handler did. Normally when we go to this 18 cut, you know, it's in the past, you know, we haven't had really huge Crown Championships. So you're only talking about cutting 12 to 15 to 16 dogs.
oh.
This year you had a really big cut. We lost 40 plus dogs in the open and 20 something dogs in the amateur. So this was a lot bigger of a chunk of a dogs got cut after the second series than we normally have seen.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I saw this many DQs
Right.
right off the bat here.
Wow. Carried. Oh. Got it.
Almost like that dog was trailing the comeback trail with the other dogs.
That's right.
And when that tail's cracking like that, and tell you, the older dogs, they can trail at a high speed. And it's very helpful on land blinds at times.
Yes.
Because that trail takes you to the end.
We have an old dog named Bang that was running in the amateur division. He's a field champion, crown champion, and he's one of those dogs that you could, if you ran him late, you could see him trailing the other dogs on the way, especially on like the, you get on a long retired bird, and they'll get out there and trail those dogs.
Yeah, I had some that you'd see them, they'd be looking for the company. They'd kind of coast, and the minute they acquired that trail, they'd make a break and take it right into the bird. Is it my imagination, or is the bird that they just put back out not quite as visible?
I think it's just a lighting change and maybe the angle at which they place the bird out there.
Yeah, because it's got a black end on each end, so I think maybe it's just the angle it looks.
Just the way the light's hitting it.
Yeah.
Right. And as the sun's moved, it may be the glare of it's changed. Also may be that he's put it out a little different attitude, but I guarantee you when the dogs get close, they can see it just as well.
Every time that we blow that whistle, you look at me like I'm loving it and you don't like it. I'm going like, yeah, that's my man. You know what that does, though, to some degree? It gives you, I think, a little bit of an indication on how defensive you have to be coming off the next point.
I don't necessarily think that that was a bad one coming off of that one. Man,
okay, well.
Here, and right there, I was just thinking, I know when the dog's going for the bird, I might have let him roll a little bit
I know. You're just
further.
trying to affect. Is he taking the cast or is he going for the bird?
Yeah.
That's a hard call. You don't really know.
Yeah. Well, you know, my fear is if
But now he's having a hard. He's almost going to miss the point.
This is it right here. Now, does he think he needs to stay dry? Which again, I'll take 6 or 8 points. All right, I would have blown that one. And right
I'll
there's
tell you
why.
what, those big casts he got early paid off because that would have been real easy to.
Now, Pat, I would have blown that one because the dog clearly was going left, and you would want the direction change that he just got.
Yeah, if he didn't blow, he never would have seen him again.
No, you're done. So that one I definitely would have.
But some of those casts that made it a little choppy approaching the point paid off there.
Right.
Because the dog
Spades.
was willing to change direction quite a bit. And when they're up in those tall reeds, that's a tough cast to get. You got one shot at it.
With the wind laid down, look how defined the tip of that point is now. You know,
right.
those first few dogs, it was kind of hard to see
anything,
where the
it's
tip of the
almost
point
downwind.
ended.
Yeah, it is downwind right now. The wind's shifted 2 or 3 times. Take a look out here on the water. You can't see it on the monitor because the only ripples are out far out deep to the right where it's coming kind of over our left shoulder.
Those first few dogs, it was tough to see where the tip of that point actually ended, and now it's very
I know
defined.
it is. At first when I came up, sometimes there's aquatic vegetation, like duckweed.
Yeah, that's what I thought the land
is that
looked.
really the point?
Yeah.
Or is that just vegetation out in the water? But
during
it was
test dog, we actually thought the taller grass was the point they wanted you on until the test dog actually went over on it, and then we all realized, oh wow, that's not duckweed, that's actually ground. There was a little bit of a
here you
glare.
go. There's some scores here now, guys.
Yeah, you can see what I was talking about a while ago. Stewart's opened up a pretty big gap right there. I mean, almost 60 points, 57 points separating him and Brian, and then only 9 points separating second and third. Of course, we've still got several dogs left to run here. Yeah, we're about 2/3 the way through the field.
Had 3 dogs EQ'd?
We have had 3 dogs.
Yeah, we haven't looked at the full board.
Yep.
So we're looking at how many dogs are right there?
We've ran 13 dogs so far. 3 of them have DQ'd.
We got 10. This is our 11th dog to finish here.
Yep. We've got 5 left to go.
So we need one more to finish to have our top 12.
And right now, Brian Broussard is sitting in second place with Huck, but he is also right now sitting right there on that outside with Daisy.
Now we've got John Lamar and Smokey coming to the line. Smokey was our Eukanuba Team of the Year dog for this year in the amateur division.
So does that mean he had the most amateur points of anybody?
So it's like high point open dog, high point amateur dog in field trial.
Okay.
And in field trials, they have there's a high point dog, and then there's another one that's 2 different years, right?
Yeah, there's I think there's the Perrine Award, and then I guess it's, I don't know, not necessarily AKC, Retriever, and one of them goes through the National, and the other one
is January to January.
Goes through the full calendar year, so it's a little confusing at times.
So our Team of the Year starts the first event after the Crown and ends the last event before the Crown. So that's how they keep track, just like the high point open, high point amateur.
Well, and what changed is we never used to have field trials in the month of December. After once the National hit, you didn't have a trial typically until the next year.
Now we have them every weekend.
Yeah, you're right.
It never stops.
Okay, I misspoke a second ago. I apologize. John Lamar in Pine right now with a 258.
Come off the mat. That's okay. There's no penalty there. He gets to be. He's allowed to put him back on.
The test hasn't started. John Lamar in Pine right now, assuming that every dog left to run finishes ahead of them, they're guaranteed a spot for sure in with a 258. So The bubble dog right now would be John and Henry, sitting there at a 275. So 258 and below, you're guaranteed in.
That's including the dogs that have picked up the poison.
That's including the dogs that have not run. So right now, John and Pine are guaranteed a spot in the 12. Henry, Daisy, and Caleb are going to need a little bit of help, and of course, Rip, Traeger, and Rip are DQ'd, so they're out for sure. Cute, gives the cast. He waits, dog's past the decoy, steps out.
John is one of those handlers that just stays so calm, cool, and collected. Stays with the fluid motion. His cadence is very consistent. Georgia and Lane had a 136.
So with that 136 on Georgia and Lane, they came in here with a 91. That gives them a 3 series total of 227. So that assures them a spot in the 12. Doesn't give any help whatsoever to Henry, Daisy, and Caleb.
You got through it. He was on the back side of that decoy.
Hey, if you're going to drop your nose and start to hunt, I'd rather be on the back than the front. Got it.
That's awesome.
Pretty nice blind right there. So John's already guaranteed that he's moving forward with Pine, the 258. I'm sure he'd really, really like to have Smokey in here as well. John also has Katie in. Katie's guaranteed a spot in the 12 as well. So if the wheels don't come off here, John's probably going to have 25% of the field into the semifinals in the amateur division.
Sometimes you just got the mojo going.
Well, you know how it is preparing for a national. You're just trying to get them all to peak at the right time.
Yeah, that's right. I like the body language that I'm seeing right now from Smokey. Goes down, gets in the water like, hey, okay, now where do I need to be right here? John gives him that cast. I'm sure he'd like him to be a little bit closer to the bank, but...
Well, I like them. I'd rather have them defer to go around the point, but be willing to get on.
Amen.
Yeah.
Me too. Seeing how watery Smokey wanted to be, I think that verbal was definitely the way to go.
Yeah, you didn't.
And I think this would be a
And
solid.
you see how quick he turned around? I think that's okay. Boop.
There you go.
All right, let's see what you get here.
I bet you he gets a really good
Well,
cast
I would
here.
think, but yeah, in his
Sweet.
Now get that direction change. There you go, boy.
Yeah,
Good boy, Smokey.
makes a little move towards the bird.
It seems like he's...
I don't know if it's just a move left or just, and it wasn't maybe super aggressive move, but boy, you'll know here after this cast.
I wouldn't be nervous if I was John looking at this dog's body language at all.
Yeah, but you just can't.
Ooh, now
I'm getting
that
a little more nervous every second now.
Yeah.
That could be one where you don't even wait. I feel a little wind on my left ear. Oof, oof, oof.
Yeah, me too. I'll be shocked.
Look at him, look at the bird. Oh, oh, oh. Is this big verbal over? Or back? Toot. He got him off the bird, but I don't know if he's going to be happy where he shows up here. See the wake, but I think he's left, isn't he?
I can't tell. You know, Smokey's a very watery dog, as evidenced by the first.
Yeah, but sometimes in this context, there's
60%.
there's water on all sides.
Yeah, there's sometimes
Doesn't mean water.
Looks like he's
you know?
channeling to the left.
He's
And I
not
know
in
the
terrible
handler can't see
spot.
him
The
there.
poison bird right there.
Yep. About John should see him about now.
No, I don't think they almost see until they get out of the water. They're based on the handler when they blow them. Because if he saw me, he'd be blowing.
Sure, you know he would.
See?
Yep, you're right, Pat.
Can y'all talk a little bit about the crowd, how into it they are with this poison bird?
Well, yeah, you're seeing. You can hear the crowd react to these dogs.
Yeah.
When they break for the bird, you hear, ooh, ah,
Yeah, mine wasn't the only yell.
You saw a lot of the Taylor Farm crew's hands go up on top of their head when Smokey looked at that poison bird.
Oh, yeah.
Good finish, though.
They're not saying it, we're feeling it.
Yeah. Man, the intensity here. You know, just everybody rooting for these dogs and
What I don't.
collective gasp throughout the gallery. And we're a pretty good piece away from them, too. Tell you, we're sitting over here taking a bird's eye view from Pat's drone footage of this blind, and there are a lot of pitfalls in there. Some of them you can't see as well from the
Bumped it
blind.
over just to get it.
John looks awful relieved there, too. And he should be. I think that pretty much secures him 3 spots in the semifinals.
Now we've got Carol, Cato, and Frank coming up next.
Look at him. There's lots of smiling going on there.
He might need to change his shorts.
Yeah, well, we gotta. It goes from like I'm in control to like on the edge of the brink of death.
I was shocked when on that one cast, the dog, I would have, again, I lost the farm. I thought Smokey was just take that cast. I didn't think he was going to pick up the bird. When he blew the
Well, I
whistle and
didn't
stopped it
either,
the second
but
time.
it just shows you how quickly you can go from being just right to being in trouble.
Cy Young to sayonara, just like you
That's right.
said.
That's
Yeah.
why you got to keep that whistle in your mouth, right, Pat?
Amen. Amen. You know, I talked about Rex coaching us. That was in the day before we had mega whistles. But he would make me keep the whistle in for an hour straight. When I was sitting in the gallery watching, he'd look over at you and he'd
Put your whistle in your mouth.
he wouldn't let you take the whistle out of your mouth.
You're kidding.
You got to get
You'd
used to it.
you get used to hold it, and he said you need to learn to talk with it and do everything without
What kind of
taking it out
whistles did y'all use?
It was the original Gagne's.
Okay.
Black bell, P.
And you got so you could twirl it, flip it, move it around, so you just could actually literally hold it in your mouth almost like you're holding it in your hand. All right, Carol made some incredibly good handler decisions on the first 2 series. Hopefully she keeps it up.
Gun jam.
Tell you, I really like
Still on the mat.
Oh,
He
yep.
came toward it, but he's still on the mat. Oh.
Well, she's going to take. You get a free pass. Why not take it?
Well, I think she was unsure if the tail counts, so she would rather be safe than sorry.
I know. I mean, it didn't cost her a point, so why not do it?
Waited. Got some speed to him.
Wow, this dog's
Yeah,
moving.
Frank is
Right.
fast. Frank and
This
Traeger.
Great whistle there. Let's see what she gets. She goes with silent passes. She's trying to get left to the decoy, but she's also trying to make sure she doesn't get that poison bird. Got it. Yep.
See if she gives verbal here. Yep. Good job of
Sometimes
attacking
you've got to decide, do you let them cross the line to leave room for the next cast? In other words, you stop them right on line, they don't have anywhere to go. You give this cast.
Smokey and John at a 79. That was a good run.
Yeah, really good run. Look at this.
Got through the gap.
Yep. Nothing wrong with that. verbal
if you
there?
take your whistle out to go verbal, you keep it only a tiny bit out of your mouth so you can stick it back in right away.
There you go. She's going to finish this right now.
That was well done.
That was a good
Well
blind. That was
played.
good. Stayed,
Really
stayed
well
in
done.
control, kept her in the corridors. That was good.
Well, you know, there are events where Ray handles Traeger and Frank. There are events where Ray handles Traeger and Carol handles Frank. There are events where Carol goes and handles them both. I mean, this is a husband-wife team.
Great for
both-
the dogs.
Oh, yeah. And they're both great handlers.
That's great for the handlers, right? Well,
Gonna go on the right, maybe.
she's representing the family now.
Going right side here.
That's
Well,
76.
as fast as this guy is, I don't. Well, I don't know. I'd be wrong, but he doesn't seem like a dog to be a warrior that dive out in the water fast. Just, well, and she knew it because you see where he wants to look. She's having to push him. She feels like she may have changed his mind, but we'll know here in a second.
No problem.
Yeah. This is.
Come on.
1, 2. Pace is nice. We used to say handle a fast dog slow and a slow dog fast.
Yep.
And this is a fast dog.
Good whistles.
Be careful, Carol. This is, you're going to learn a lot.
I request a GoPro in the truck.
Good second whistle there.
GoPro in the truck tomorrow.
Slow and
Don't
methodical.
wait, don't wait. Ooh.
That's my microphone.
Good. Sweat him a little bit. Good job.
See him bob his head every time she blew a whistle?
Mm-hmm.
Did she win the battle? Well, we're going to know here in a second.
He's trying to cast. He's not moving.
Oh, back. Did she get him stopped in time to see him? Ooh, he's coming. I don't like the break he made.
No, she's
He
got
didn't
it.
come
She's
in,
got
but
it.
she got him by the bird, but she did not finish that blind the way she wanted.
Boy, there's a lot. That factor's really sucking him in there.
She did not help her cause here.
She got some room to play with, though. You know, she had a pretty big lead. But
Oh, I know
she
she
get
did.
her finished.
Problem here is you're actually casting back toward
Wow.
and
Gotta
there's
get over
another
there.
pond or another behind the blind
Right.
that I saw in the drone picture.
Your work may not be done here, Carol. Keep that whistle in your mouth.
Oh, he stepped on it.
Did you see her casting at the same time, too? That was a smart play. That wore me out.
I know. I could feel the. Look at her. She went. I just got to ask her. When she went to a verbal back, I said, instead of a verbal over, when she was, now maybe it wouldn't have made a difference, but I got to believe it. And then she did give a verbal over when he showed up on the left shore.
You know, and it just also depends on their training style. You know, I don't have a verbal over in my belt. We don't teach the overs as a
Why?
verbal cast. That's just the
I
school
mean,
I came from.
One of the deal, a handle into the water drill. Ever
Yeah.
do a handle into the water drill?
Yeah.
I mean, typically that's a verbal over. And oftentimes it's a verbal over that was preceded by a correction for not
Right,
getting in the water.
right.
So,
We start that in the swim by. I mean,
Huh? Yeah.
when we do the swim by, we start teaching those overs, bird in mouth handling, it's always verbal to get in the water.
And sometimes that over almost sounds like no ver.
Yeah.
Yes. And she gave a verbal back in the middle of that I totally agreed with. She'd given 3 silents in a row, and Frank kept digging for that bird. He would turn the right way, but he would dig for the bird. Then when she gave them back, it was almost like a verbal correction.
Yeah.
You know.
Right. I mean, sometimes I say to myself, if what I'm doing isn't working, I got to do something.
Change of pace. It was a change of pace.
Right. Even if it wasn't my first instinct, that verbal over was different than the 3 previous preceding casts. And well, anyways, again, hindsight's 20. It's easy to sit here in front of a TV and say, well, this is what you should have done. I don't know if it would have made any difference.
Mm-hmm. Now we've got
she
Bailey.
knew she was in. I'll tell you what, when she put him on the right, she knew she was in for a fight.
Yeah. This is Bailey and Casey Parker. Bailey is one of the iconic dogs of the SRS. She's been in here a while, and she's got a lot of personality to her.
Got that.
Has a tendency to get a little vocal every once in a while.
She likes to blow her duck call herself.
She looks like she's having fun.
Mm-hmm. Casey's another one that trains over there with Chuck and Chumac Kennels and Ron Anderson. Him and Ron Anderson have been childhood friends.
Gave her a verbal sit. You heard that little verbal?
Mm-hmm.
She does not
little
like
tire
poison
squeal.
bird. Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
he took the 50.
I would think so.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. He's sitting in a good spot. Why start a big fight here?
he just doesn't want another 50.
That's the wrong score there. That's going to be for Carol and Frank, not for Casey and Bailey.
Yeah.
That's her first big number, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, that's.
Ooh, he missed both.
It looked like he missed both keyholes on that blind there.
But that puts her at a 244 cumulative. I mean, right now, the 3rd place dog is just sitting at 243. I'm sorry, my math was off. Right now, the dog sitting in 3rd place is just at 222. Then you get a big gap to 2nd place, which would be Stewart and Tex with a 165, and John Lamar and Smokey with a 149, with Bailey and Wayland yet to complete the test.
Well, that wind's back to where it started, a little right to left.
And you can see the ripples in the water and a little glare. Hard to see that point again.
That also means that Caleb and Timothy Williams definitely will not be advancing. Numerically, Henry and Daisy still have a chance.
So we have 4 dogs that won't make the cut for sure now.
Yep. Bailey's looking a little land-eye dominant here.
But 3 of which have been disqualified.
Yeah, 6 dogs won't make the cut, 3 of which have been disqualified.
And then one you looked at the numbers.
The 4th one is Caleb. Caleb and Timothy Williams are officially out.
So there's.
She's up on that point.
There's 2 spots available. Yep. Well, that.
Look at that
is
one.
Is that the poison bird right there he's looking at?
Yep.
Oh. Well, I tell you what. I always say, the first thing that goes wrong, you're going to not get that poison bird, but you're going to. I just don't know how this dog gets this blind. I was starting to say, there's your answer there.
Oh, I hate to see it for Casey and Bailey.
Yeah.
You know, they've always got a good run, but big water blinds with a poison bird tend to be her Achilles heel, but they've had a good year and got qualified for, I believe this is their 4th Crown Championship, so still always proud of them as a team.
Oh,
they do
absolutely.
A great job.
I was right. Kel Cato and they did have a 244, not a 243. 174 and 70 is 244 all day long.
So with that DQ, that's going to bring in
Well, and now you got 4 dogs that are DQ'd and 1 that mathematically can't get in.
So that DQ means that John and Henry are going to make it for sure.
Good deal.
John and Henry are going to make it for sure.
Picking up the
He's
shells.
picking up shells, okay.
Trying to keep the place clean for the gracious landowners that allow us to use the property.
Amen.
Next up, we're going to have Ernie D'Antoni and Wayland. Wayland's a young dog. This is his first year running the SRS, and they started off with a win in their first event and had a handful of placements. I believe they got 4th in the team of the year, 4th or 5th in the team of the year overall, and got their title in their first season. So
our last dog that blew up and he got DQ'd. I always say the first thing that goes when blinds fall apart are stopping mechanics.
Yep, that's right.
And you saw that in a great example of that. When the first time she got up on shore, she'd take 3 or 4 steps before she stopped. And that's the beginning of the end, oftentimes.
So Brian Broussard and Daisy are a bubble dog with a 287. Mr. Ernie comes into this with a total of 54 in the first 2 series, so he can give up 233 points here. Actually 232, because if they tie, the low score from today would advance. So he's got 232 points.
You know what I'll do if I'm training on something like this? I'll take a tent stake and I'll stake that bird down. I can correct him for going for it. If I can get it pinned down.
One thing I see Farmer do a lot, he has some bird bags that he has, and he'll put the bird in a bag on the point.
So they can smell it, but they can't pick it up.
They can't pick it up.
So, I mean, what you hate to do is make that correction for going for it, and then they get it anyways.
Right, that's right.
So both those scenarios are ways to make it impossible to pick it up. So if you correct them, you're more likely to get the outcome you want.
Man, Wayland's sitting there.
So if you had a misfire or a shell jam, you would be considered a no bird?
No, as long as you're continuing with the test.
As long as it doesn't materially affect the test, you keep rolling.
Wayland tends to be a very watery dog.
Yeah.
Maybe tweet him in a little bit there.
Yep, that's
there you go.
Good cat.
Oh, he's gonna miss this one.
Can't see where the dog is. He's looking. He's trying to determine is he. All right, dog's behind it. Obviously missed.
Yeah, you can see the handler's reaction, huh?
That's okay. Just gotta go roll with it.
That's the worst mistake he makes on the whole deal. Boy, look at this dog move. What a cast that was. Thinking.
Good safety whistle there. Got it.
As fast as well.
Don't go.
Got it. It's all right. Brush it off.
Yeah.
Wayland's a super fast dog. He's a young dog. He's got pretty much full trial experience. Ernie trains with us, and we've been working Wayland. He started running all age this year. Right before he was 4, and got a 4th place finish in an open. And then Ernie's been running him a few amateurs, and they've done well together.
You can watch the way this dog holds himself. He's a quality.
Wayland's out of Tucker, Alex Abrams Tucker,
yep,
who just recently had passed away at 280 all age points.
You bet. They were quite a team.
Wayland's basics were done by Chad Ratt of Lucky 7 Retrievers. He did his derby work, and he put 9 derby points on him and had him qualified all age before he was 2.
That was always our goal for, is get your close to 10 derby points, get them qualified all age before they're 2, and you get a heck of a start. Well, that's a heck of a start on that initial line. Come on, baby. Toot.
He's got a chance to make up some ground here. Now that
wateriness will come in handy if he gives it to him.
Tweet.
All right, now here.
Now I'm dying.
Tweet.
Good safety. Yep.
Now I want to wait. Now it's time to sweat him, and he got the cast.
Come on, Wayland.
Maybe you stop and hear him
put a verbal left straight up?
Yep, I
Probably.
would agree with that. They did.
Look, it makes a look at the bird. Okay, he's in a good spot, but you better not. This dog's fast.
Good kid.
Is this a 2-whistle cast? Oh, I'd have to. Oh, you would. What a cast.
Nice job. I'd hit one there. Good job.
And a good whistle there, too.
Yes, sir.
There's nothing worse than
Great
coming off the
whistle.
point and being slow and having them wrap behind.
I'll tell you
I
what.
think I get more nervous watching your amateurs run than you do running the dogs yourself. I'm over here clinching and I'm trying to blow the whistle myself, but Ernie's done a great job.
You bet he has. He's got that proper form with his hands are in tight to his chest. And come on, guy. He's going the wrong way, but he can't.
Can't see him. He's trying to use his hat.
Yeah, I don't
You
think
got
Wayland
to handle
can
with your
see
body
Mr.
here.
Ernie.
Lots of
Yeah,
motion.
there you go.
Really
Walk
walk.
There you
got
go.
it. There he got it. Because dog's not trying to be bad there.
No.
He's casting into the wind towards bigger water. He's just missed. He obviously just wasn't seeing you. I mean, it's still a cast refusal.
Let
I
him
get
roll
it,
for a
but
little bit. Oh, it's definitely a 5-point cast refusal, but it's not even being a bad dog. I like this dog. This dog is.
This is one of those dogs, when you see him, you know he's got something special.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
And Mr. Ernie has really grown over the last couple of years as a handler.
He has put the work in. He's out there almost every day training with me, and
well, there's no shortcuts, right? And
he trains. He's not one that's afraid to do drills. He'll take his dogs home and do drills with them throughout the week. Getting ready for this Crown Championship, he's been doing his training setups every day, doing his drill work, and he's really been putting in the work. Ernie is definitely dedicated to the game and to his dogs.
What do they say? That's the unseen hours.
That's right.
They talk about it's the work you do when nobody's watching that pays off when everybody's watching.
That's right.
And
That's
here's
right.
a good example.
Exactly.
Well, barring the catastrophe here on the return, that means that Brian Broussard and Daisy have been eliminated.
So is that the 6 dogs?
No,
then?
actually, let me make doggone.
So you talked about this being becoming a good handler. Good dogs make good
That's
handlers.
right. That's right.
I mean, and this is a good. I mean, and they step your game up.
Bang was his dog who was a field champion. He got his field champion. He's actually qualified for this year's National Open.
Oh, nice.
But he's 11 years old. He ran this Crown Championship's going to be his retirement. He's just not going to make the trip to Oregon.
Yeah, it's a lot to ask.
And so he's had a good teacher from Bang. You learn a lot from the dogs, and him and Bang had a great career as an amateur together. I won the Crown with him in the Open, but him and Bang, they accumulated over 70 SRS amateur points. They've got 127 combined total. And so he's had some good dogs to teach him along the way. But
you bet.
But he's also put in the work. So I believe that's it for today. That's the last amateur of the day.
This is the last amateur. We're not going away yet, though. We are going to give a brief recap and take a look at the scores, where we stand. This is still anybody's game right here.
It's a great thing about the SRS is it's not over until it's over.
Hey, man, we saw 2 beautiful blinds there, but we also saw Ernie. You can't forget they took that 50-point penalty right
Missed
off
that
the
first
bat.
slot.
Yeah, and he had a little bit of trouble there. Great water blind. I would love to have that here every day of the week, but he had a little bit of trouble.
Once he got off the point, yep.
Yep, gave up some points there.
A couple CRs.
He came in here with a commanding lead. I mean, he had 15 points over Bailey, who went out as the second place dog, and 25 points over Smokey coming in. But Smokey only threw up a 79 in this 3rd series. So we're going to have some scores here. I think it's still pretty doggone tight. The other interesting thing to me is look at these scores. 12th place, we've got Henry with 275. And right now, the leader of the clubhouse is Smokey with 149. 125-point gap, that's pretty big gap. But if you drop down to the dog that's going to wind up probably in 4th place here, Huck, 222. So 4th to 12th, you're only talking about a gap of 53 points.
It's pretty tight.
Yeah, that is some tight stuff. And we saw some of the favorites go out here, as well. And, so there's been some moving. I was telling you, Thursday and Fridays are moving days.
Well, here you go.
We don't have them all yet. We don't have Wayland. Oh,
No, we don't have Mr. Ernie in
Wayland's
there.
got a 126.
Mr. Ernie's not in there.
Yeah, on number 3. Third dog down.
Yeah, that is not the top 12 guys. Oh, yes, I see it with a 180. Oh, they gave up a bunch of ground
126
there.
there.
Yep.
Still, he's still only 31 points behind the leader, and that's tight in this game.
Yeah, he's got 42
you look at
points.
those names on that amateur leaderboard, and the first thing that comes to mind is hard workers. Every single one of those handlers puts in the hard work, and they all train, and you see them on the road a lot, and they do a great job.
But I'll tell you what else that scoreboard shows us, Pat. It's what you and I were talking about earlier this week. These judges are setting up tests where anybody can make a move. You know, Mr. Ernie came in here with a pretty commanding lead, and he dropped 31 points to the leader right here. Stewart and Tex did a really good job and made up some ground. And, you know, you take a look at Smokey and Lamar, really, really good job. And John, Lamar, and Katie, that's 74. Made up quite a bit of ground, too.
So what do you, all right, you're going to run in the morning. What do you, I mean, obviously we know what the test is going to be. What's going through your mind?
I think at the open level, you're going to have to be, you're going to be worried about the wind change. If that wind change is going to be how much of a factor it's going to be. But I think when it comes down to it, for most of these guys, they're going to have to put the poison bird out of their mind and focus on the blind itself, and not worry so much about the poison bird that they're putting themselves in position to miss those corridors, those hot spots. You know, if you're so worried about the short poison bird, you can miss your first slot left. If you're so worried about the poison bird on the water blind, you can miss both of your points on the right if you over influence the water. So. It's when you got poison birds tight like this and you got a lot of good dogs, it almost becomes like golf and becomes a mental game more than anything.
Oh, without a doubt.
Well, I definitely think this is the kind of test that requires a lot of thinking on both the part of the handler and the dog. We saw a lot of decision making on some of these dogs. You know, I still go back watching that run that Pine had, watching him make decisions along the way. I obviously saw the same thing there in that last run with Mr. Ernie and Wayland. So definitely this is a thinking man and a thinking dogs test. So folks, that's a wrap. We've got our final 12 for our semifinals set in the amateur division. Now tomorrow morning we're going to come back out here again. Should run test dog somewhere around 7:30, 7:45. Hope to be bringing you live action tomorrow morning as we come in here with our top 18 open dogs. So appreciate you guys watching. On behalf of my buddy Luke Coor, Pat Burns, I'm J. Paul Jackson. Thank you for watching this installment of the 2023 Super Retriever Series Crown Championship presented by Eukanuba.
The Super Retriever Series Crown Championship is presented by Eukanuba. Sporting dogs give us everything we ask and then some. Their nutrition should do the same. And by the Shreveport-Bossier Sports Commission, teaming up with our community to bring sporting events to Shreveport-Bossier City, Caddo, and Bossier parishes. Margaritaville Resort Casino. Louisiana Tourism, feed your soul. Thor's Boats, drop the hammer.
Splash Super Pools.
And by Lucky Duck Kennels.
Your puppy only gets one start to set the foundation for a lifetime of performance at your side. Fuel growth and activity, support digestive health, and give him a training edge to one day flush, point, track, retrieve. So when the gear comes out, he'll be ready. Make every milestone count with game-changing puppy fuel. Eukanuba Premium Performance Puppy Pro.
The Shreveport-Bossier Sports Commission is here to help you with your amateur, collegiate, professional, or Olympic sporting event. Centrally located in the Arklatex area, Shreveport-Bossier is a premier sports destination, ideal for hosting sporting events of any size. With our wide variety of venues, including stadiums, convention centers, rivers, and universities, we are sure to have the perfect location for any event. Our team is ready to make your event a success. Visit us online at ShreveportBossierSports.com or on Facebook at Shreveport-Bossier Sports Commission and let us host your next event.
Two birds of a feather. We flock together every day, and I'll do anything to protect that loyalty. Durable, dependable, and downright dirty. And I'm not just talking about my dog. This 5-star crash test rated kennel is lightweight, secure, and made right here in America. Loyalty goes both ways.
The Splash Super Pool is the original above-ground, soft-sided pool. We've been in business for almost 40 years now. We're still proudly made in the USA, and we've been serving our community in all kinds of ways. They're all testaments as to the strength and the durability of this super pool. And we've been serving the dock diving community for almost 20 years. The pool that they use is the exact same pool that you'll use in your backyard. So just remember, as you're watching these dogs fly through the air, this is the same super pool that you could have in your backyard. Splash Super Pools.
The Super Retriever Series Crown Championship would like to thank Shreveport-Bossier Sports Commission for the opportunity to showcase our retriever teams. We would also like to thank the sponsors of the Shreveport-Bossier Sports Commission.
Your puppy only gets one start to set the foundation for a lifetime of performance at your side. Fuel growth and activity, support digestive health, and give him a training edge to one day flush, point, track, retrieve. So when the gear comes out, he'll be ready. Make every milestone count.
The Splash Super Pool is the original above-ground, soft-sided pool. We've been in business for almost 40 years now. We're still proudly made in the USA, and we've been serving our community in all kinds of ways. They're all testaments as to the strength and the durability of this super pool. And we've been serving the dock diving community for almost 20 years. The pool that they use is the exact same pool that you'll use in your backyard. So just remember, as you're watching these dogs fly through the air, this is the same super pool that you could have in your backyard. Splash Super Pools.
The Shreveport-Bossier Sports Commission is here to help you with your amateur, collegiate, professional, or Olympic sporting event. Centrally located in the Arklatex area, Shreveport-Bossier is a premier sports destination, ideal for hosting sporting events of any size. With our wide variety of venues, including stadiums, convention centers, rivers, and universities, we are sure to have the perfect location for any event. Our team is ready to make your event a success. Visit us online at ShreveportBossierSports.com or on Facebook at Shreveport-Bossier Sports Commission and let us host your next event.
Super Retriever Series Crown Championship would like to thank all our gifting sponsors for their donations to our competitor teams.
They're partners, ready to do whatever it takes. Athletes that pound for pound can outrun, outwork, and outperform anybody you're watching on Sunday. No contract required. You don't waste that kind of potential. You train it, fuel it, unleash it. You feed nutrition that holds nothing back. The Eukanuba Premium Performance Lineup.
This is no ordinary puppy. And this is no ordinary story. This is the tale of a hero in the making. He is born, raised, and fed to rise to any challenge. Because he is no ordinary dog. He's a Eukanuba dog.
That's it. Come on, boy.
Eukanuba provides animal proteins and high levels of DHA for a strong body and mind. Feed the extraordinary in your puppy and make your dog a Eukanuba dog.
The Splash Super Pool is the original above-ground, soft-sided pool. We've been in business for almost 40 years now. We're still proudly made in the USA, and we've been serving our community in all kinds of ways. They're all testaments as to the strength and the durability of this super pool. And we've been serving the dock diving community for almost 20 years. The pool that they use is the exact same pool that you'll use in your backyard. So just remember, as you're watching these dogs fly through the air, this is the same super pool that you could have in your backyard. Splash Super Pools.
In my Louisiana, the day starts at 4 a.m. In my Louisiana, every meal is a celebration. My Louisiana really makes me wonder. Ours is fast!
With real-life swamp creatures!
In my Louisiana, music is a way of life.
My Louisiana is sheer magic.
From sun up to sundown.
Till sunup again. What will your Louisiana be?
When you find your Louisiana, you feed your soul.